Good evening and welcome to the Sullen Art Podcast, brought to you by Frequency House from the Dylan Thomas Birthplace at 5 Cwmdonkin Drive, Uplands, Swansea. I'm Iqbal Malik, and with me as usual, my co-host Chris Horgan.
Hello.
Good evening. And Simon Jones.
Good evening, Iqbal. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. Slight change of scene.
Yes, different room.
Yeah, so we're in the, I don't know what the official title is.
Parlour.
No, it's not the parlour, is it? I think it's just living room, isn't it? Slight change of scene. But we've got another guest with us for the Christmas special, which is Nia Griffiths.
Christmas/New Year's special, because by the time this goes out, it might be January the 1st. So yeah.
So the New Year Day special, post New Year's Day. Nia, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. So you've been up here a couple of times this week.
Yeah, it's quite a trek up that hill.
Yeah, it is a hell of a hill, isn't it? I don't know if I got used to it yet. But you boys parked at the bottom.
There's nowhere else to park. So.
You just get on with it. Just get up with it. Get up there.
So it's nice to have you actually on the podcast finally. I think we've been mentioning it a couple of times since, haven't we? So
yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are you doing at the moment then? You're sort of in and out of Swansea, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm currently a uni student. So
where are you studying? What are you doing?
I'm at Cambridge and I'm studying education and psychology at the minute, but I switched degrees because I'm chaotic.
So what were you doing before that course?
Anglo-Saxon, Norse and Celtic,
that sounds quite interesting to me because we've had a conversation about that. I quite like that. But you pretty much binned it after the first year, didn't you?
Well, there is only so much you can study about Vikings, really. I know, there's a big hype, but once you've done a year's worth and you sit in the exam and you're like, Loki again, really? Wow,
so you're now the expert on Norse.
I've had a lifetime of it.
Yeah, because it's kind of your field as well.
Well, my grandfather was Norwegian.
Right.
No way.
Yeah, he's from was from Trondheim. And my other grandfather was from Cork, so I got on the Celtic side as well. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was brought up with tales of Yggdrasil and all that. From a young age. So.
Big Viking influence in Ireland as well, so probably a lot of...
Yeah, well, it's the Vikings and the Celts that made Iceland. One of the things is the Vikings, but the Celts had a huge thing from Cork as well. So, yeah, I was brought up with all that. So, I know it well, so, yeah. I enjoy it, though. I like it. I think it's good heritage. But if you do it day in, day out...
Yeah.
For a degree, I think it can probably grind you down.
I think I realised I just tried to push a hobby into that every day that I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
See, that's the sort of degree I wish I had done. I mean, I did politics, which I feel that, like Simon, it just doesn't...
I didn't know you did politics.
Yeah, I did. I was holding it, but I know you've mentioned it before, but political science...
You did a degree in politics and so did I.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you didn't mention that when you found out?
No, it was sort of amusing me a little bit, sort of, kind of dipping into the conversation on the podcast with Si about it. But I just didn't find it particularly worthwhile, to be honest. I think you had a similar...
Yeah, I call it waffle and bullshit. I did a degree it was politics and philosophy, and I just term it now as waffle and bullshit because it was. I mean, you were being prepped to basically be an underling in Whitehall to run white papers around. That's all you were really being prepped for.
Do you think that I'm not convinced by that?
I would, but definitely from UE.
Really?
Yeah, definitely in University of the West of England. I mean, West of England.
Yeah, you've shoehorned that in a couple of times as well.
It's not that bad, actually. What I will say about UE is it's the best administrative staff ever.
Wow.
They're fantastic. No, they're really good. No, they were just really nice and helpful. They're really, really nice people.
They'll be chuffed you've given them
they were brilliant. And Dean McSween.
Shout out to admin.
Shout out to admin. And Dean McSween, my head of year, he was brilliant. Dean McSween, that was his name.
Brilliant.
Yeah, no, I'm not joking. That was his name.
Are you really sure nice you're not making part of this?
No. Dean McSween. His son was a massive Jimmy Eat World fan. I'm not making that up either.
I don't think you could make that bit up, which suggests to me that maybe you're telling the truth.
No, he's really, really nice guy. One of the, without hijacking it, because it's obviously Nia's thing tonight, is the one aspect of it that I enjoyed the most was we did a whole module. Well, it was a whole year's worth of module work on reading politics. And that was the first year where our first task was, right, go out and buy The Sun, The Mirror, The Times, The Guardian.
You've mentioned
Yeah,
this.
so, and it was literally as the Second Iraq War was kicking off. So it was then, over the term where you had to go between the different narratives, and it was really quite insightful, between broadsheet journalism.
Was it
tabloid
slightly
journalism.
stereotypical then, was it?
Well, at that point, I didn't know what stereotypes were when it came to. I wasn't that right on when I started doing that course. I started it thinking I was going to be really right on, and it was. I didn't know what the stereotypes were, and then you sort of learn which papers cater to who, and so on and so forth.
I think Cambridge might be an interesting sort of place to be and study around that sort of stuff. How do you find that in terms of the kind of people there, the sort of social stuff, the personalities and whatnot?
It's kind of interesting. I don't want to talk about too many people because I know them. But it's interesting kind of how blasé people are about their future and their influence. So as I think I was telling you, I went to a friend of mine's birthday party, and I'm not going to say what political party he belonged to, but he'd bought the entire, he'd rented out the entirety of an upstairs nightclub and had an insane amount of wine, and it was just crazy. And when they were doing toasting speeches, they were just like, oh, when you're finally leader, all of them were belonging to the same party, had gone to one of the London schools, had a future career in that area, were kind of doing degrees they didn't care about just so that they could.
So, other than be
I want to get into this
rich.
a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
When
Go
you're
on.
was that said with any hint of irony or?
They're very funny people, so it was said with a mild hint of irony, but also the fact that most of them have, go canvassing and have links
What's
within
go
the party,
canvassing?
as in going to canvass during election time and have links within the
leafleting,
party.
door stopping, that sort of thing.
And then a few of them are now working under people in Whitehall. So it's interesting because you kind of get that glimpse, and then.
Well, the active politicking stuff I get, because I've done that. What I don't get is a sense of entitlement, which is almost you've been to university, you're there at a prestigious institution, and then it's well, you will be a leader, you will be there. It's not necessarily through some other broader meritocratic thing, is it? It's just it's on the plate for you, isn't it?
It does really
That's
make
the bit
me
kind of
believe
jars
in
me a bit.
nepotism.
It actually makes you believe in nepotism. It's yes,
Just
nepotism is good.
No, it's just this is the only thing that works.
So a mandate from the masses doesn't really exist, almost, in what you're saying, is because you're having a bread for power, I think would be the sort of best sort of expression. You seem quite sad about that. Maybe there was a hint of irony in it. Perhaps there was a little bit of joshing.
I mean,
as
I
they probably
am
say.
their friend. I did go to their birthday party.
Yeah.
But it was also oh, God.
What were they drinking?
A lot of wine.
Just wine? Was it sort of no sherry or some other sort of?
You're grasping now.
We drink so
well,
much.
I'm just thinking of the parties I would have gone to and still do. But
Because you're still cool and hip.
well, not that sort of party.
Parties I go to.
The parties is coming on, baby.
Yeah, no, let's go.
But yeah, it's not going to be your lager, is it? It's going to be sort of finer.
And I chundered
Fine.
everywhere. Yeah, I can imagine it. I can only imagine what it would be like. But I was in uni with guys like that. The way Bristol used to work is if you couldn't get into Oxford or Cambridge, you kind of went to Bristol, and if you couldn't get into Bristol and you were from the Guildford or London area, you ended up at UWE. So there were quite a few people that I was in uni with who were they were in that sort of Jack Whitehall mould in way of talking. But the thing is, they were completely harmless. They weren't. It was all rugger and but they weren't dangerous. You know what I mean? There was no. I'm not saying the ones that went to Bristol or Oxford or Cambridge were dangerous, but there was no nastiness about it. It was just like, oh, really? You're taff, are you? Oh, great. This is going to be fun at the pub on Rugger Day and all that sort of
Posh
stuff.
racism.
Posh racism.
Oh, yes, very good, yeah.
Yeah, I think the only difference is that in other universities, they're kind of like forced to accommodate themselves to other people. So like they have to become less posh in order to not be
So it
hated.
kind of makes
Whereas-
them normalise.
How are they? Because you're Welsh, Swansea. You're Swansea through and through.
Yeah.
How are they with you with that?
I mean, I think I kind of accommodate when I'm there. Like, I think my accent has changed over the last 3 years quite a lot. I
Quite
don't know.
pretentious, isn't it, really? I joke.
So every time I come back, everyone's like, "Wow, you sound like a..." And then, but there's a Welsh society, which is nice.
Do you sort of congregate? One day we will take back all of this in the name of Owen Glendower. They have like a secret handshake and then walk out the door and yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I learnt Welsh was just.
So you could slag them off when they went there. That's a pretty good idea. But
I mean, you know what? It's going to be an amazing experience. It's a fabulous university, isn't it? Let's be honest. I mean,
I've never been.
Well, I drove through there once. I didn't really take much in, really, to be honest.
Working.
Chris, please take him to task on this because I
Yeah.
want to do.
Let him. So what's the
I
best?
drove through there once.
Yeah, it's actually a factual thing.
Why? So
I don't know.
but
That's all I
that
got.
Cambridge, the place, not the campus. You weren't like, oh, sorry, I've taken the wrong turn. Yeah.
But okay, let's brush that aside.
No, but
from
I
it.
mean, it is an interesting point because, like you said straight
Well, it
away,
wasn't really a point, was it?
No. We're just sort of like sidetracking back to the whole Cambridge thing because it's one of the first red bricks, isn't it? Am I right? And there is still now that sort of divide between a red brick university and he's only gone to a polytech, he's converted polytechnic or stuff like that, which is it's strange, really, But there we go. That's just my opinion because I went to two polys and two former polytechnics and I like both of them, technical colleges, which would lead me on to my other thing about vocational work, which I think is
Which
really
you
important.
also hated.
What? No, I like vocational. I prefer vocational work as opposed to academic
Yeah. No.
work.
What I mean is, you hated your university, didn't you?
I
So-
hated UE towards the end. I wish I hadn't done the course, really,
I think
because
I think that's the thing, isn't it?
yeah, because
You've got to do a course you really want to do.
I did really want to do politics, but then it just became a joke. It really became awful. It was.
Well, you should have
That's how I
changed.
felt. That's
Well,
why I
this
changed.
is the thing, because you changed your course, didn't you? That's quite a bold move. I mean, you've been there for a year. You were doing quite well at it, by the sounds of it. So why did you make that switch then?
I think I just realised that the things I want to do in the future might involve psychology or might involve education, and the kind of stuff that I wanted to do was to have an impact beyond myself. And the course was really just ASNAC, which is the acronym, was just leading me towards academia and trying to funnel me down some weird, obscure subject choice that I could do for a PhD that I could then live in for the rest of my life. And I just didn't want to do medieval Welsh poetry that bad.
Yeah. Well, you sound more grounded, really. I mean, I'm quite practical. I mean, I because you've chosen something there which is now something you want to do, professionally speaking, potentially. Whereas, I mean, how do you apply? You can't really apply politics, can you? Other than like
Politically.
Well, I know, but
Or become a lecturer.
a lecturer in politics. Yeah, that's
most.
true.
That's
Yeah.
most of the university subjects. Unless you become
Yeah.
a lecturer, unless you can apply it.
But the thing is, you say, can you apply politics to, a politics degree to politics? I don't think you can. I mean, you in order to be rooted in whatever if you stood for a political party, you've got to be rooted in what's going on, isn't it? I mean,
Do you agree with that, Simon?
you'd be better off joining a union or just being involved in the workplace or something like that to actually get hands-on experience. Rather than learning about contemporary American politics. I mean, what's that going to do ultimately? If you want to, what I'm saying is, if you want to go into politics as a route,
without making the analogy about, okay, so here's the analogy. When I have people come into the shop and they ask about playing, they go, what's the best book I should learn from? What's the best way? It's like, well, no, it's lots of different sources. So I know what you're saying. That's one source, American contemporary politics. That doesn't mean that you should then negate being involved with a union or whatever XYZ. You should have your own, nous to go out and be involved within as many political things as possible until your bucket or whatever it is full, and you go, right, I can't do anymore. This is where I'm going to, channel. You can't. And the old adage, you have to know your political history, because otherwise it's not, from my experience, it's not just grandstanding in sort of student politics, because you will then come across people who have a historical understanding and context of political movements, and they will absolutely assassinate you in a debate. No, but what I would say to you is, if people are genuinely interested in those things, they'll learn them organically. Just sort of around the people you're with,
From like a class perspective, if you think about the fact that some of these people who are going into politics have like been taught the political system and been shown these sources and these ways of thinking since they're like 8. Like, if you're not of that brand of private school individual and you're working a job for like 25 hours a week, you don't have the time to catch up to them.
Yeah.
So you need to do something, and a degree in politics is a way to catch up to them, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably true. Well, I mean, perhaps I'm being a little bit.
But I mean, you're vehemently political. You are, aren't you? It's like a stick of rock. If you cut you down the middle,
I think I've got a strong political sort of base in the centre. Yeah, definitely.
What is your political base? Is it the working class, or?
Well, I think it's difficult to sort of sum up.
That was a joke,
I mean,
but
if you're gonna, I wouldn't take that as a joke.
No, because that's when they say the political. But never mind. Okay, go on.
Right. Okay. I've been interested in politics for forever, really.
Don't you get tired of it though?
Well, yeah, I do. Yeah,
because I'm tired of it.
I won't even read the paper now. I just can't be bothered with it.
I got so exhausted after the election. Just wanted to end it all. Oh, sorry.
Don't end it all, please. Don't end it.
No. As in my engagement with politics, not myself.
No.
Yes, well, it's a dangerous time.
But surely that's whole part and parcel of the political game is to now overload people with information where they cannot be bothered.
That's what they do, isn't it?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
And this is one of the reasons why I was having that conversation sort of took shape with Alan Gibbard, wasn't it, on his podcast? We were talking about the media. And, I get a bit hacked off with it all, to be honest, and it's just a bit wearing. But anyway, maybe we shouldn't focus on...
Let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
It's the last episode.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas. We'll come back. We've
gone through all this.
Yes, quite right.
Nonsense.
You're upsetting Chris.
Yeah.
You're not. It's just... Nia summed it up, but it was just like...
This is not Chris's idea of Christmas, is it?
No,
and neither is it.
I had enough of it as well.
Right. Well,
and it's the last.
Well, I tell you
last.
But you've recently got into
this one. Let's just move on.
Right.
I want to know
Nia what Nia does and his doings, because
I
that's
know what
what
Nia's doing, and I want to ask her about your radio show.
Yep.
What's it about?
So it's mostly like garage rock
in Cambridge. Is it a student union show? Was it Cambridge wide?
It's Cam FM, so it's a Cambridge wide student radio. We have some presenters on who aren't affiliated with either Cambridge or Anglia Ruskin, but most of the presenters are either from Anglia Ruskin or from Cambridge.
Okay.
And then so it's every Monday. We have different live music on every week, which is really good.
As in bands in the studio?
Yeah.
Cool.
Which can be chaos.
Yeah.
Because we only have 4 mics, and it's quite a small studio, and we had a band, myself and my co-presenter Lucy, and then we had a band called the Mardlers on, who were really good. But we had the 4 of them in, and they were all like cramped in one part of the room, like playing like arm to arm against each other, which was really beautiful to see, but
not ideal. So what do you say, garage rock? What kind of stuff is it you're
like a little bit of everything. We were talking about this earlier, kind of going from like the 60s. My co-presenter is into a lot of different things. She kind of leads the way musically, and then it just depends on what the bands want to listen to as well, because like, for example, when the Marvelous came on, we listened to what's that song? It's the like thump song. Iggy
Pop.
No.
Blast for Life.
No.
The Thump. Icky Thump.
Yeah.
Oh right, Icky. It's an Iggy.
The White Stripes.
Yeah. Yeah, we listened to a lot. We listened to a lot by the White Stripes. Sorry.
No, that's cool.
I'm awful for my memory is the worst.
Well, no. I mean, because he's what's his name?
Jack
What was
White.
his name? Yeah, Jack White. Jack White's made a career out of what's the word? Going back through the sort of garage rock period of American music, which was heavily influenced by the British invasion, just with the Beatles and the Beatles. So I'm guessing that it's a lot of the sort of tracks from the 60s is something that you'd hear like on a Nuggets and the Children of Nuggets compilation album, quite famous sort of compilation albums which were released in the late 90s, early 2000s, which are basically all the garage rock stuff. I mean, the garage rock movement within itself was very sort of sporadic and hit and miss. So you'd have these bands that do like one or two tracks for a single, and they're sort of really rare and sought after. I mean, bands like the Sonics, for example. I mean, they're a bad example because they're like 3 albums in, 4 albums in. I can't. Great band. Did an album. Got back together in 2015 to put an album out and really have Love Will Travel. It's on loads of.
I won't listen to that. That sounds good.
If you heard it, you'd know it straight away because it's one of those sort of songs that's crept over into the mainstream sort of.
Black Keys did a cover of it as well.
Yeah,
I love the Black Keys.
there you go. See, so
They've done a cover of it. I think it's on their. I think it's Sick Freakness. I think it's on that album.
they are a good band. You've got to give it to them, considering the Black Keys.
Oh yeah.
I have this really visceral reaction to the Brothers album by the Black Keys because I was ill when I was listening to them, and I put them on and I fell asleep. I was passed out, and then I woke up and I passed out again, and all the time I was listening to the Brothers album. So now I just associate it with that like weird, cold, waking up, visceral experience. It's really good, but no.
Yeah, well, we all like that, just different albums.
I love Rubber Factory is the album for me, but that was the first time I ever listened to them, and I just love that album. I think it's fantastic. But so, do you have sort of contemporary stuff on there, like Mark DeMarco and T. Seagal and that sort of stuff, or no?
No, I think we try and because we're on at like 4
Graveyard shift.
sometimes later 5 or 6
In the morning, or
in the day.
in the day? I thought you said you were going to do like the graveyard shift
The
then.
graveyard shift.
So you're on drive time then?
Damn, yeah.
Drive time. Yeah. Do you get to do that at all? Or?
No.
No.
We have like this intro which is like, you're listening to Be Confirmed on Cwmdonkin, which is ridiculous. And I love it. But yeah. But my co-presenter does most of the kind of musical pickings. I'm more of the one who goes to open mic nights and scouts live bands and goes up to them and pesters them to come on the show. Do you want to be on student radio?
In that voice.
Yes.
In that voice.
Yes, I will.
Wow, the egos you must have met along the way. I'm really sorry.
Actually,
No?
so lovely. Genuinely.
Really?
I've
Okay,
been
maybe I'm
impressed.
jaded. I think I am, yeah.
Yeah, no, we've had some really interesting, cool people on the show. But I've been ill twice, and so very often I've asked someone to come on the show, hyped it up, and then not been there. So they've just had to deal with my co-presenter, and my co-presenter is quite quiet. And
I mean, have you had anyone who's had any sort of, I don't use the word clout because that almost sounds like it's disparaging to what you're doing, but have you had anybody on there like that you like has broken through or is on the ascendancy or is, you know?
yeah, we've had some pretty kind of, they're mostly up and coming. So mostly it's people that are Cambridge based on the live scene. We've had some acoustic bands that are now touring. The Modelers are on the up and up again. They were recently on like BBC Radio Cambridgeshire, and they're going to be touring soon. But they're still quite local and small. We don't really want to have because then you'd have to consider like using the budget, and we want to give people a platform. The aim of the show is to give people a platform to show their stuff, have a recording of their music, which a lot of people don't usually get an opportunity to have. So we can send them, after the show, because we record everything, we can send them a clip of everything that they can then cut down and edit to their heart's content.
Here's an interesting point, and I've been struggling with this the past couple of days. Is the music industry becoming far more of a class divide again, where you're having bands and artists who have the luxury to invest their time, money and effort because of their family and background into being musicians, as opposed to, I don't want to say working class, because again that sounds is equally as bad, but and I don't want to say other representative voices, because that's another sort of awful buzzword from the 21st century that I hate. But there's not, I mean, you don't really get bands like The Fall anymore coming through it, and I would sort of say, who's that band? They were all folky and they did my head, and they were all art students, and I wanted to throw my shoes at the window.
Mumford & Sons.
Thank you. They're sort of like that sort of, thank you. Well done.
Who's it?
Mumford & Sons. Is there something, because we can only speak from our millhouse here, right? Okay. Where, how Chris has been on the scene a lot longer than I have in Swansea. I was in Bristol. But from what you're sort of saying, is there a sense that there's almost like a invisible barrier that's put up in terms of like a class? Because a lot of these things that we're talking about here, I mean, without blowing my own trumpet, I run a music store myself, right? So I know how much it costs to get the gear, good gear. Then I know how much it costs to put the money into a tour, and then to insure the stuff and have the car and to go back and forth. You're talking thousands upon thousands upon thousands of bands. In your opinion, from when you've sort of been, and I hope this doesn't get you into trouble, is there a sort of a class thing? Do you have,
I think I've experienced something that's quite different to that.
Okay.
So I think it depends on the place, because I think it depends on the local music scene and the extent to which the music scene is accommodating of up and coming artists. Like in Cambridge, I'm only really like over the last year or so getting into the open mic nights and understanding what's going on with the music scene in Cambridge. But because they're quite supportive and there's a lot of constructive criticism and feedback, people improve quickly over a period of time. And I think they're willing to support each other in terms of recording, in terms of like putting on gigs together. And a lot of the venues in Cambridge, even the Cambridge Junction, which is quite a big venue, it hosts like comedy people.
Comedians.
Thank you. But they're quite accommodating to the town, like people from the town who want to perform there. So I think I'm not really in a position to say, because I have such a warped view of music from Cambridge. Like I'm doing the musical organisation for one of the Mabels. So I'm in charge of organising what acts we get, and I think a lot of the local acts get to play these huge balls and get paid like £300-400, which is like quite good for an act for a set.
That's really good.
Yeah.
For, comparatively to a band down here.
Yeah. Yeah. They get paid this kind of money for a night in June, and I think that they get to play alongside huge artists. Like some of the artists that we're looking at, I can't say yet because we haven't booked anyone yet. But
do they fall into the same sort of bracket, or do you sort of like?
No, we have artists that are
Stormzy,
kind of just below that level. So we're looking
Onesie. Sorry,
Rainsy,
yeah, Drizzly. Sorry, go on. You were saying, but no, it's okay. We can edit it out, or we'll just leave it in. It's
that was beautiful.
Thank you very much. So people like kind of below that sort of level of turning up in a Union Jack.
I mean, like a few years ago, we had like Loyal Connor.
Who?
That's like he's now a very famous. I want to say grime. I don't understand, but I'm going to say grime artist. So it's kind of people that are going to be touring worldwide, getting like couple of 100 million plus listens on Spotify every month.
I never understood grime.
Yeah.
No.
Sometimes I understand it, but I have to be really angry.
Yeah.
What didn't you get about it? What's the thing about it? You just
Why people listen to it?
I think there's a time for
It's not.
for sort of motion. No, there is
There's
though.
a grime time.
It's terrible.
There is a grime time.
Grime time.
There is definitely a grime time.
There's
Yeah.
never a grind
Yeah.
time. There's no. If I wanted to listen to that,
But you see,
and I'd listen to people with proper struggles from back in the day.
But the what Chris is highlighting, and I don't want to sort of like speak for him, but like you, me, and Chris, we were spoilt when it came to sort of hip hop and rap. I mean, we were all. Who do we have?
Wu-Tang.
I was just about to say the Wu, NWA,
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy,
Mobb Deep.
De La Soul,
Yeah, that's
Tribe Called
true,
Quest.
yeah, Far Side.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're naming a lot of American acts here.
Real good. There's a few like British ones. Like Tricky, but back in the day.
Well, Tricky's fucking unreal. How amazing Tricky is. Tricky's the fucking boy. He's
I still don't get.
Goldie as
Yeah,
well.
well,
He
it was
a
more
bit
of a dumb-
D&B.
Wasn't
bass.
Tricky from Bristol way?
He's a Noel West boy. And
He's what?
He's a Noel West from Noel West.
Is
And
he?
Yeah,
I
he's
didn't know
Noel
that.
West. If I remember rightly, his auntie is Finlay Quay's mum. Finlay Quay's mum. That's his auntie. Or is it the other way around? Finlay Quay's was his auntie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But yeah, the massive. See, there you go. We had Trip Hop in the UK, so we had
Yeah.
Massive Attack and we also had
Portishead.
Portishead. So. But
Bristol was a hell of a scene.
we had
back
loads
that's
of
why I
other
moved
things.
there. That's why I moved
Was
there.
it? Right,
Yeah,
okay.
that was one of the reasons.
I
Well,
love
look,
Bristol.
I mean, Jesus Christ, Mezzanine came out, and it was like a year later. I was like, right, I want to go to Bristol, but that was the end of it. Mezzanine was the end of the trip hop scene. It really was. But yeah, trip hop was.
So
Something
you were
else.
into that little scene as well, then?
I
were you?
loved trip hop.
Right.
Oh yeah, you got to listen to everything.
Yeah.
I mean, mine doesn't sound like the way mines do if we didn't listen to like country or we didn't listen to trip hop or any of that.
But you got to remember
Yeah.
with trip hop, it wasn't just a case that these guys were taking one sample and that was it, and they had a whole song. It took a couple of samples here, and then they knew one of their friends played bass, so they had a live bass player, and somebody else was a drummer, and then they incorporated it. I mean, I beseech you, sir, if you really want to really understand how amazing trip hop can be, there is a video from Jules Holland back in like either 94 95 of Massive Attack doing a live performance of Karma Coma, and they've got some I think they're from Morocco. I don't know exactly, but they've got some proper
I used
Moroccan
to
drummers.
watch him quite regularly, actually.
What, Jules?
Not so much now.
Yeah.
But,
No, he's awful now.
yeah.
He doesn't do anything for me.
But you're still referencing his some of the old acts, though.
Well,
Well,
so-
it's the odd band that turns up now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool, man. But it highlights music in general.
But
Nowadays, you
Yeah.
just got the standard. You know, everyone different, everyone interesting.
well, before the internet, I mean, it's like Chris will remember two performances, and he knows exactly what two performances I'm going to say. They were on the same show. Everyone always references when At the Drive-In played, what's it called? Jules Holland, because it was just carnage. It was chaos. It was
Oh,
like
I
when
didn't think of that one actually.
At the Drive-In, and the other one that's always remembered is Henry Rollins doing
Rollins Band.
Yeah, the Rollins Band, because this is pre-internet, and if you are in Gowerton or West Cross or another sort of part of the UK which doesn't have access to Sky or whatever, and that comes out at you on a Friday evening, you're just blown away.
You
You're
go
like,
out and buy it Saturday morning.
exactly, Saturday morning. If they've got it in HMV, which they didn't, but
Well, I found it.
well, yeah.
I bought it and you didn't find
Yeah.
it. But no, you're right though, man. It's like, I mean, that's good. You can access everything now, but there is that nostalgia, that kind of little thing where, like that, you got to do a bit of hard work to find some good music.
So you potentially some very big hitters that are going to be involved in this ENTS thing that you're doing. Is that the right way to sort of say? Is it kind of like an ENTS thing? And I don't want it sort of come across as being like patronising or ENTS, but so it's an
That's
ENTS, yeah. So you are lifting up quite a lot of bands then by giving them the exposure to work with some of these big artists. Grime aside.
Yeah, I think they
Grime aside,
I don't
that's
wanna-
what we need.
overplay my role as a musical savior, but I think that May balls in general and June events in general in Cam and I guess in Oxford, whatever they have.
Oh, the rivalry. Oh, we haven't even gone on to that. Yeah.
If they
Let's
don't
not
call
talk
something
about it.
Oxfest, they're really missing out.
Oh, we just call it the other place, but
Did you really call it the other place?
yeah,
Is the rivalry theory?
people in Oxford don't care.
Yeah.
Oxford is just like, all right, calm down.
Mm.
Whereas everyone in Cambridge is like,
Okay, because Oxford has footlights and Cambridge has it.
No,
what-
we have
you
the
have footlights, and you've had some quite great comedians come through there, haven't you? Through footlights, weren't the Pythons, or have I got that wrong?
some of them.
Some of the Pythons came through. Who else would have come through there?
That guy that was in IT Crowd, Richard.
Ado Adi. Yeah,
I love him.
yeah, I'm not a fan.
I thought that whole kind of Rowan Atkinson, Stephen
No,
Fry
not-
era, all that lot came through there, didn't they?
Yeah, they came from Cambridge.
Did they?
Yeah,
I
Stephen
don't know.
Fry. Yeah, they did. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they did.
I get
yeah.
confused.
Well, Fry and
they
Laurie.
definitely did.
Yeah, Fry and Laurie.
Yeah.
The
Brilliant
only
series.
Yeah,
Hugh Laurie did.
I love Hugh
Yeah,
Laurie.
The whole
that's
like
where they
everyone
met,
knows
isn't
that
it?
Cambridge is a dump.
And not the 9 o'clock news. I think they did as well.
No. Oh, hang on. I'm trying to think. There was a couple of them circumvented it. I can't remember who it would be.
William Harvey, the man who discovered blood circulation.
Hmm.
No.
Right. Do you really like Richard Adoadi?
I just love
Go
love
on.
the episode of IT Crowd where there's Street Countdown. I don't know if you've
Oh
watched.
yeah. The first rule of Street Kind of tell everybody about it because we really want the numbers. Yeah, I know it. Yeah, no.
I
And
just
if
love
it
that.
makes you laugh, it's lovely. Yeah, but no, no, it wasn't me.
It's a bit hit and miss, though, isn't it?
What?
It's a little bit hit and miss. IT Crowd, I think. There was a very good
I
scene.
didn't mean it like that. No, I meant that genuine. Like, it's nice that it's going to make me feel really bad. Like I'm gonna have to backpedal here.
There
I'm
was-
editing this out.
There was
No, it's okay. You can mansplain comedy too.
That's not mansplaining comedy. How is that mansplaining? So if I have an opinion on something, therefore I'm mansplaining because of my gender. Okay.
Actually, so I've worked as like a cocktail bartender for a few years. My dad's recently gotten interested in cocktails, and he's like trying to explain to me all of cocktails. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is a Bellini. Have you ever heard of a Bellini before?"
It's probably
Nia?"
the easiest one to make. Isn't it? Essentially.
Never heard of
Is it? I've never heard of it.
I never heard of it either.
But I have to be like, "No, Dad, I haven't heard of a Bellini. Please tell me all about a Bellini." Ugh.
What is a Bellini?
It's like it's basically
I
like
think it's like Prosecco mixed
yeah,
with one thing. Like.
with peach puree.
Yes. Yeah.
That sounds disgusting.
It actually
sounds like
really
it's
Well,
gonna
is.
remarkably
curdle.
okay, actually. It's
Well,
quite
you look like a cocktail kind of
guy.
No, that's
But
an
I,
insult. You look like a cocktail kind of guy. Hey, Joey.
He's used that picker more than once, mate. We know that.
I
We know that.
What can I get you?
The old New York cap. Huh?
other coastline. We've all had a cocktail or two, but I'm just not into it as you.
Can you just save that bit and play it on a loop?
What about the cocktail?
We've all had a cocktail or two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can sort that
we've all
out.
had a cocktail or two.
But do you think mansplaining is a genuine, real thing?
What's
do you
that?
think it is?
It's when you know you. It's when a woman is qualified. I think this happens. I think that it happens between men too. I think it's a thing that people do. It's not necessarily.
But specifically in
mansplaining.
this context, Simon.
It's just when somebody's qualified, and in that, like, that was just your opinion. I was only joking.
No, that's cool. It's cool.
But it's a situation in which a woman is insanely qualified, like, for example, a top
Cambridge graduate.
a top research professor in this field, and then a guy will turn to her and just explain a very simple aspect of the thing to her, and she's like, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, by that very token, that wasn't essentially mansplaining what was going on. I mean, I understand what you were saying, totally, because I have it happen to me in work, where I
Okay.
will be
Yeah.
working on something, and then somebody will have. Well, the old phrase is, "A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing."
Yeah,
So
totally.
I understand
That's exactly
that.
what it is.
Yeah,
I think.
But everybody does it.
No,
But could it not be sort of misconstrued of the fact that it's somebody? So from my point of view, and this is no disrespect to you at all in any shape, form, or way.
So you're out to get insulted.
No, it's not.
Teeing himself up.
And teeing himself up. It's.
How deep a hole can he dig himself in here? I think spectacularly
It's
big.
fine, we can edit.
I'll be honest.
We're going to find out. Go ahead.
So Nia, you've got, it sounds like you've got a book in the pipeline as well, by the sounds of it.
Kind of. I'm trying.
Go on, tell us more about it.
So I kind of have a lot of stuff now. Like I've been writing consistently for a few years, and now I have enough stuff that I could, if I add a little bit. Whoops, sorry.
To change.
Smash.
Order.
Oh, the Burko's coming back out
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I could do something with it. And so the plan is to kind of do a collection based around tarot cards and the themes that are explored in individual cards, and look at it from that perspective.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean? In terms of like, what is the book? Is it poetry or is it story? I mean, what is it?
So it's poetry, but we're going to have like illustrations of the tarot cards, and then each illustration is going to be part of like introduce a set of poems which discuss that theme.
Right,
So
okay.
like, for example, The Fool going to look at instances of hubris or discussions of the ego and that sort of thing.
Okay.
But it's still very much in the early stages, and I haven't worked out what aspects I want to focus on, or what. I guess I write a lot of poetry and I don't know what it's about, which sounds really silly, but I think when you create something, you don't necessarily understand it until a few years later or a little while later. So it's just an aspect of looking at my poetry from the past and analysing it and thinking, what are the actual themes here? What am I trying to say? What am I doing? And then going from there.
So what? How did you get to this concept of tarot then? Did you write like X amount and realise it kind of came together like that? Or was it like a predetermined, this is the concept I want to go for?
I think it was more that I wrote a certain amount and then I kind of got interested in that aspect and those sorts of things. And then I realised that I guess like fundamentally tarot cards explore different aspects of the human psyche anyway. And they allow you to reflect on yourself, and a lot of my poetry is just really reflective stuff in one way or another. So it's a good lens through which to view everything. And I think that illustrations of tarot cards are really beautiful and really interesting, and the kind of I'm really like big on the intentional fallacy. So like whatever you write, it doesn't matter what you meant. It's just whatever somebody else reads and interprets. That's what matters. It's kind of like if I read a poem and I thought about these things as a result, that's what matters, not whatever the poet intended.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, well, I do, because I write the lyrics for the band. I'm not a poet, but I write lyrics, and I write them for whatever purpose. But if you heard them or you read them and you had a different interpretation of them, that's fine. I mean, I have far less of a point in the lyrics. Well, I'd like to say a poem from Iqbal probably has a very specific point, a very condensed narrative. Mine doesn't. It could be anything. Sometimes it's just literally words look and sound cool and fit in with the rhythm of a riff or whatever.
Well, I think that's the difference in it between music and sort of poetry. That there's more of a sort of freeness to the sort of musical sort of side of things. You can actually be a bit looser in it.
How do you mean?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to have that central drive. Like with mine, for instance, I try to hone in on a very specific thing or point. And kind of draw that out, but I just noticed with sort of kind of music lyrics that it doesn't have the same sort of focal point, just like driving.
There's so
for the
much
whole
going
thing.
on though, doesn't it?
I just thought that like poets were musicians who couldn't sing.
Well, there's probably a lot in that. I mean, I've tried to do a bit of musical stuff, and it's fallen flat on its arse, frankly. But but I'm quite intrigued by the tarot stuff. So how's
Because
that?
you're big on that, though, aren't you? You like all that
Yeah,
kind
I
of,
do quite like it. I do quite
stuff.
like
I've never
it.
bought into it myself. Well,
Yeah.
no issue if people who do, but it's something I've never.
Yeah,
undertake on
it's something that definitely kind of piques my interest, to be honest. But no, I'd be interested to know how yours is going to look at the end of it. So you can basically do almost like a deck, then, is it? Or just pick particular cards? Or what?
Maybe not a full deck. I don't think that I
How
have
many
enough
in the deck
poetry
of
for
tarot
that.
cards?
Like a lot. There's like
Well, it's 50. Was it 50 odd?
It's 52 in a normal
52.
playing deck, isn't it?
Yeah.
because there's 12 of the major cards, and then there's a number. Of
So I don't
other
know
cards.
anything about tarot cards. I don't know. That's something I've never undertaken, so I don't know what the main cards are. I don't know what major cards are.
Basically, you have like a deck of 12
Okay.
major cards that are meant to guide the kind of overarching mood or tone, and then you have a series of other cards which are more specific. So if you're reading someone's fortune, which I don't, that bit I don't necessarily agree with as much. I think they're more reflective. Like they let you think about things that you've been hiding from yourself in the present more than things that are going to happen to you.
So you think they do show stuff about your psyche then?
But more so in the way that, like, you know how dream analysis, like when you analyze a dream, it says more about you than it does about the dream. Because when you're analyzing the dream, you think about your fears, what you're worried that it might mean, what is on your mind, it's just like a vessel that you can use to bring those things out.
How does it work now? So say you get a pack of cards and you give a pack a shuffle. Do you shuffle them?
So usually, like, the person who would be trying to find something out about themselves would shuffle the cards, so you have like that physical contact.
So you give me a pack and I shuffle them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how many do I turn over or pick out?
I think it depends on what you do with it.
So you tried something with me before. I just didn't.
you didn't really dig that at all, did
No,
you?
I didn't.
But
There's nothing in it that I
I've got
could
to be honest,
connect with.
I've done quite a few tarot readings for other people, and over the years, I think they've been pretty accurate, frankly.
Mystic
But I do find, but yeah, okay, yeah. But I think the reason why I like it is there's a certain sort of shamanistic element to tarot in itself.
Well, that's cool. I'm not knocking it. I just
yeah.
don't understand it. And like, when you did it with me, I didn't know it
We'll have
didn't make
to do
any
another one.
sense.
We'll have to do another one, mate. See how that goes. Do a little reading for tonight.
Yeah.
At the end of the night. Okay, so the tarot stuff, you've more or less got a collection together, by the sounds of it.
I think I'm like 15 or 20 poems away.
15 or 20 poems. So how many are you looking to do then, overall?
Like 50?
That's
So
a big,
more or less.
it's a big undertaking, that is, yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
but it's like, a fair amount of years, and I'm going to edit some of the poems as well, so it's not as many.
Cool.
That's pretty good. And you've also got someone to illustrate your book as well. From what
Well,
you're saying
maybe,
earlier. So
if he turns up.
Who is this person?
Oh.
What is his name?
that is
Oh, his name is Joe Bayliss.
right. Okay, so Mr. Bayliss, were we aware that he had these capabilities? Then is he interested in tarot stuff, or is it just like artistic stuff that he wants to do?
I can't tell, because when we were talking about it, it was very much from the creative perspective. But his drawing was very good. He drew the fool, and that was awesome.
Right, so he's actually going to do each card then, is it? Right, okay. I didn't know this about Joe Bayliss. Si, did you know much about
Yeah,
his,
no, he's incredibly good as an artist. He's he's very good. I mean, a lot of it obviously comes from.
Is he a musician?
Yeah,
Is he,
very good as well.
is he?
Incredibly good.
I didn't know
musician.
anything about him. I
Yeah.
know he does the Fringe Festival. I don't know nothing about it.
Well, yeah, so what is he? So he runs a Swansea Fringe Festival. He was involved with you for donkey's years.
Yeah, we
wasn't
were
he,
in the
Fringe?
Phantom Light together. We were in.
I never knew he was in the Phantom
yeah,
Light.
he
Either.
was a replacement guitarist in Phantom Light, and then he was
Oh.
in Masubi, and then he was doing the sort of solo stuff, and then all of a sudden, the Fringe took off, and that was it, really.
So what was the Phantom Lights?
The Phantom Light was like a shoegaze band that we did from 2011 to 2014.
Who did vocals in that?
Anthony Jones.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Wow.
Tony, who's the lead
Yeah,
singer
yeah,
of
yeah.
the Rusty Nuts.
He has got a hell of a voice, that guy.
I can see him doing
Very
Rusty
genuinely.
Nuts, but I can't
Yeah.
picture him doing that now? Shoegaze stuff. No, because I haven't heard
I
it.
don't even know
I
what
can't
shoegaze means. I mean, what is this?
Jesus and Mary Chain,
My
Ride,
Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine, that sort of stuff.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of reverb, a lot of delay.
Yeah, a lot of reverb, a lot of delay, yeah.
Two of my favourite things.
Yeah. to make up for bad playing, so there's lots of reverb, lots of delay.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I didn't know anything about that. Well,
No,
you were Matty.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's that always breaks my heart because I've said this before on other podcasts. I don't think I'll ever play with a musician as good as Matthew ever again. That's not to take away anything from any of the musicians I've ever worked with or will work with. But
Which one's Matthew now?
Matt's the drummer in
He also
Cities.
plays in Cities.
Yeah.
Drums.
Oh,
It's,
right. He's the guy who went. All right.
Yeah, Matt's an incredibly insightful human being. He's really genuinely lovely human being.
Great
Amazing
drummer,
person.
man.
Great drummer
Great
as well.
drummer.
Really nice person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What do you think makes a great drummer?
Oof.
I don't.
I could sound incredibly arsey and just go 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 being able to keep time, but it is literally just being able to keep time. It's
There is more. I agree with that.
there is
There's
more
gotta
to
be
it.
more
There's
creative.
If there's a house
there's
of drummers, like Simon said, the 1-2-1-2 is like the foundations, isn't it?
it is literally the foundation.
And then everything else is just when you know to put off a fill or anything, about an odd time in or anything. And I've been blessed to play with great drummers. I mean, it's the most primitive instrument you can play. And I kind of get a kick when people go, I'm not a drummer. I can play the drums, but I love it when people go, they just hit in things. Give it a go. Give it a go.
Well, the drums is an interesting concept because before I said I wasn't going to put my head on the chocolate.
I go to gigs and I watch drummers.
The formation of the drum, the history behind it is that the kit is an ensemble piece or instrument that was brought about during the end of the American Civil War when there was lots of different disparate parts of the drum kit, obviously of different marching bands for the Confederacy and the Union. And to make things a lot easier, they amalgamated the kit and like piece by piece, and then it all becomes one thing. So,
so you're saying that
it's quite a modern thing. It goes hand in hand with jazz, which is like the last of really
That's
true
so
American
interesting.
Late
art form.
1800s, early 1900s, wouldn't
Yeah.
you say?
See, I would have put it further back than that. Like
drumming was. Drumming's the
Right.
most primitive
Yeah, I
things
was
you
going
can
to
do.
say, yeah.
You think of like early tribes, that's how they communicated, that's how they do rituals. But there was one drum, what Simon was talking about, is what we know today is a drum kit.
Yeah.
That's what he was getting
The
at.
modern
Drumming's been around for
reinterpretation, yeah.
thousands, if not millions of years. The modern drum kit is what Simon was talking about.
See, I think drums make a band. To be
Oh,
honest
yeah,
with you,
man.
it's
Yeah,
like it just
yeah.
pins that whole thing together, doesn't it?
But that's
That
that's like a very. I've thought about this before. It is a very British take on bands. I mean, if you look at the music that's been popular in the UK in the past 20 years, I mean, you look at rave culture and it's very drum and bass heavy, very dance orientated. So I think for the British palette, it is the bass and the drums that drive the piece or the music, which it just is. Whereas you go to other parts of the world, it's more sort of, it could be another part of the
Do
instrumentation.
you think that lets you down though, Si?
What do you mean?
When you said drum and bass, and I agree with you, but those kind of things are just one solid beat throughout one track. You're not going to get, you might
What, for
have-
drum and bass, you mean?
Yeah, so say drum and
Yeah,
bass.
well, let's separate it out from.
So you've got drum and bass, right,
but
and it-
the drums and the bass
or
driving
rave,
force.
or it's just a solid, or and the only change is like you might drop the hi hat out of the mix and then bring it back into after the build up. But which I agree with what you're saying. And then you go to other parts of the world and it's all about what they can do as a drummer. And which I think that approach, what you're talking about, into drum and bass, don't you think that lets it down this way? Like the proper appreciation of a drummer?
What?
Like you said, like drum and bass and the drums are like the main focus, but it's like a lot of the drum and bass we hear now is very computer programmed.
No, I think we're getting a bit confused here. I don't mean drum and bass as a genre. I mean it as in a core component of the
Right.
composition of the piece.
Carry on.
Whereas the drums and the bass actually lead the piece. So if you look at right, okay. So for example, and don't really care at this point. So something like Joy Division, very drum and very bass heavy. Peter Hook's bass lines are sort of synonymous, and it was all down to the fact that he couldn't have the Rickenbacker tuned or play it in a certain part of the fretboard because it was just completely shagged. So he was playing past the 12th. So you have this like ding 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 ding, you know, for something like She's Lost Control Again, and by just some sheer fluke. The thing that underpins Joy Division is the drums and the bass, because you have these really strange arrangements of the bass higher up the fretboard, and then you also have Martin Hannett's oversight, who was the engineer and producer for Joy Division, where he was getting the drummer, I can't remember his name, it's a shame really, to play in a very more rhythmical sort of tribal sort of way. And then you look at what was probably the biggest single for that band post Ian Curtis's demise, which would have been New Order's Blue Monday, which is like one of the largest selling, and still, even to this day, you know, an absolute standard.
The orgy cover?
It was awful. Sorry, without
I totally agree with you, man.
Terrible. But sort of what I was sort of trying to sort of say is like the British palette towards things like that is very drum as the instrument and bass heavy, and that's what sort of drives the music forward with it. I think that's also a very key cornerstone of a lot of pop music as a whole. I mean, if you look at anything from Motown, I mean, the whole thing with Motown, and Chris knows about this, is the reason why Motown sounds the way it does is purely because in the studio they wanted to make it louder than anything else, so it would stand out against anything else on the radio. So they overcompressed it. Essentially, it just sounds like the volume's breaking up on it, and you push the drums and you push the bass, so it's really loud. So it's something within us, psychologically speaking, where we are actually drawn to loud drums, loud bass. It's that sort of primal thing, you know? I
think that filters into a lot of other art, man. I've got to be honest, like with poetry, I feel like the rhythm really has to come in somehow. I mean, I know we have this
conversation. I think poetry is let down. No.
Right, because it's too standard.
From an outsider's point. Yeah, because I've seen people do poetry, like yourself and other people, and they deliver it with a rhythm, like you say. But the vast majority of modern poets I've seen, and I've told you this before, the rhythm is da da da.
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Oh my god, and slam poetry.
Okay.
Oh my god.
But you came runner-up one year for this.
No, not that kind of slam. I mean, like online spoken word poetry, which is just sentences where they artificially impose a rhythm and they think that that's poetry.
What's that rhythm?
Like, and I looked at him and across the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm on about, yeah.
Like that belt of like, I don't know if you've seen 22 Jump Street.
That's very good.
No, I haven't.
Excellent film.
It's like Cynthia.
Yeah. I think he freestyles that. I feel like he must have.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what were we talking about the rhythm?
No, because we had this conversation with Natalie, sort of talking about Natalie Holborough. So we were having this conversation around sort of bringing music or rhythm to poetry. And remember, she was saying that
I was an idiot that night. I got to apologise.
Why were you an idiot?
I was really
night?
drunk.
I wasn't there that
really
night.
Bad
Why
that
were you
night?
an idiot that night?
You did have a hell of a
one
lot of
all
whiskey,
then.
right?
One all then.
Okay.
One all.
Do you guys keep score? Is that what's going on?
I think we do now. Yeah, actually, good point.
Were you aware of this, Chris?
That's a good point.
I missed that one. I was off because I was off it, so I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. I've listened to it since, but I haven't. I didn't.
Well,
it's the most badly behaved I've ever been on a podcast.
It's the most partridge you've ever been on a podcast. Because I wasn't even. I listened to
drunk as hell.
It was proper partridge.
I mean, your partridge was next level.
It was next level.
But
it was.
I liked it.
It was very.
I'm not putting it down. I liked it.
No, but what I was saying about that is we were talking about. Some people bring music to an open mic night for poetry, and I think Natalie was saying that she found that was not an eye opener, but it was a nice sort of way to understand that poetry does need rhythm. You sort of do reflect on it.
But I disagree with that because I think it's. I get really frustrated with musicians as a whole, and I just don't think they got not a right. But that video I sent you earlier, the other one. The one.
Right, you sent a few lately.
The one of the performance and the guitar accompaniment.
Right. Yes.
Which we won't
we won't
delineating
get into that.
it too much. It was just that
be specific.
it really irritated me because the poet in question was excellent, and the person who was accompanying them was a buffoon. And
Are they local?
They are local people for local. They are local people. But the
This is
person
a local shop.
for local.
Do we know his parents?
So
Can I
what are we
can't.
saying that the right? Let's hone this down broadly.
We won't
speaking.
say. But,
No,
yeah,
we
but-
won't say.
And
We
I'm
won't
not just
say,
saying
so-
it because
No, I
but-
understand. So what the principles are what sort of matters here, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
infuriating for me as an outsider.
Yeah.
To observe it and go, okay, I see. This,
How so? How was it infuriating for you?
It was infuriating because the poem was good and the accompaniment was shit. And it was
Acoustic guitar?
Sorry, I shouldn't swear. Sorry, Naz, I apologise. I apologise for
very
swearing,
good.
Naz. I
Yes.
do apologise.
Acoustic guitar?
No, it was electric. But it was just basically for look, dude, I've been in this game for 20 odd years and I know when someone's just stroking their ego on a fretboard,
Oh, yeah.
and it ruined it. You play for the piece, you don't play for yourself, and it completely ruined it.
I actually quite liked it.
It ruined
I'll
it,
be
mate. It
honest.
detracted away from what the poet
But
was
since
trying
you've
to say.
said
There's the voice of a non-musician.
Well, no, I know, but since he
It was
went into
him.
a
It
little
wasn't
more-
about the guy
Yeah,
singing.
yeah.
It was about him. It was all about him, and that's what
Yeah.
I was sort of trying to sort of say earlier to Nia.
It was a bit
about
more
with the egos.
self-indulgent, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. Nobody wants to hear that. No one cares.
I guess it's always about working together as artists.
Yeah, you have
Like,
to.
That's what I like with experimental stuff, especially what we did with
Sorry, Naz.
DFP.
DFP. It was like the main focus was the voice,
Yeah.
and everything else just accompanied it, and it accompanied it with atmosphere, not just.
The only problem with DFP was that you guys were all jamming away, and you plugged me into the smallest possible amp.
Well, that's
Now
not
I
the
couldn't
thing.
even hear my own voice.
No.
We
wait,
could.
no, wait,
And
I
it was
mean,
the first,
you didn't
the
want
first thing that we ever did, and it was.
It was very
Experimental.
good. Actually, it was
Probably for
very
the
cool.
best.
Well, yeah, probably, but
No.
amazingly, it was in Cranes, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we actually
yeah,
did
before it
that
shut
jam
down,
in
before it
Cranes.
shut
And I've got recorded.
It's on
that.
YouTube.
it is on YouTube.
Oh, we did put
The
it up.
second half.
I was
of it.
nervous
Yeah,
about
we
you
did.
putting that up because we weren't supposed to be in there after hours doing it.
Do you work in Crane?
I used to, not anymore because we shut down in January. So
He's got his own place.
It's been a
now.
year, man.
yeah, it's been a year.
God Almighty.
Went up and set my own business up.
That's a quick
cool.
year.
Thank you, very kind of you. We opened one up above Derek's Music, so yeah, sunk all the redundancy into it. So there we are.
And
Good on you, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
It's my favourite music shop to walk into.
Yeah,
I'm
just
not-
Conrad offers to buy you a coffee every 5 minutes. Do you want a coffee? Do you want a coffee? Do you want a coffee?
I'm not served by pretentious guitar wankery.
Are you sure you haven't met me on a Friday? Because that is possible.
I'll punch your teeth up.
No,
with
I
it.
know. Fucking yeah. No.
Yeah,
No.
but back to the sort of rhythm thing. I think it's a key part of a poet's kind of life. I mean, have you listened to Kate Tempest doing her
Yes.
sort of live stuff?
Yeah.
What do you make of her? Because she sort of marries the two, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't listened to
Not-
enough to really form an opinion, but what I've heard, I've all kind of just gone, well, all right.
Yeah.
I
I'm
also
What's your take? on
I've
her?
not taken much to it.
I
no.
don't like Kate Tempest.
Do you not
No.
like it?
Who is Kate
Why not?
Tempest?
She's very much she's a rapper essentially. Like she's not a poet. She's a rapper because the way she works is rhythm orientated, which is great, and being focused on the rhythm aspect of things is great. But often I think that she's really placatory in what she does. Like, just
I'm in a bit of two minds about her. I mean, her book Let Them Eat Chaos, which was published in 2018. It's one of the few books I've actually read this year. Actually, amazing opening page, and then it just sort of descends into. It's not. I wouldn't call it especially poetical, to be honest with you. But the
what
first
is it?
page is it
Was
is
it social
brilliant.
angst? Is it a commentary on social angst?
It's
that
basically
people, or-
it's basically taking sort of 6 or 7 different characters, all at the same sort of moment. I don't know what it is, like 4:10 in the morning or something. And it's just sort of commentary that revolves around, dipping into each one of their lives and then sort of bringing it back together. But
that's an interesting concept, though.
it is, and
There's a film on that, though, isn't there?
not sure.
Crash or something like
It
that?
is Crash, yeah.
Is it Crash,
Yeah,
all right?
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, on that specific.
So
No, not
Not
on
on
4
that.
people. No,
No, there's like-
no, Crash.
There's like
Oh, I see. As a
6
theme.
people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Crash to yeah. Do you wanna? Sorry, I don't want to intersect, but go on. We
No,
can get back
I
to
mean-
Crash in a minute.
Right, so yeah, but I think conceptually it's quite a good idea. Poetically, she was brilliant on the first page of the book, and then it just kind of loses a lot of
momentum.
Well, I wouldn't say momentum, but craft on the page.
Yeah, because you said
perpetual craft.
She is good on the first page.
Yeah,
which
but then
to me sounds like that. You read the first page, it was good, and then second, third, fourth.
Okay, so yeah,
just got the same.
No, but this is the reason I'm making a distinction between the poetry that she reaches on the first page, and it is essentially a performance piece, and that's the thing. You know, it's not meant to just be read as a poetry book, which I'm quite interested to know what other people kind of take from that sort of modern poetry.
What's the subject matter?
It's just kind of social observation, people's kind of generally broken lives, how they intersect and what they're, how, I don't know.
Crash, essentially.
There's a lot of buzzwords.
Yeah.
There's lots of buzzwords. So the vernacular that she uses is, what's the word?
It feels
part of the Twitterati at the moment, that sort of thing? Or
it feels very much like
a
branding of somebody trying to be cutting edge.
Yeah, and you know as well as I do with anything like that, that's a shelf life. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I don't know though. I mean, performance-wise, poetry-wise, it would have a shelf life, I think. But performance-wise,
doesn't that irritate you though? Because we've discussed this before.
Yeah, but that's the thing that I get most peed off about.
It's kind of like Lily Allen.
Right,
Carry on.
There we are.
You know what I
Carry
mean?
on.
Like very much like the stuff that she's singing about hits certain buzzwords, hits the mood of the decade or the 5-year period that she's existing within, and then people move on. And
no one listens to her music anymore. So
everyone
she
enjoys it
shit.
in the time, but it just doesn't have a meaning beyond that. It's like a meme.
Cash for chaos.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm in two minds about that because I think you've got to have some social observation in your work.
Yeah, but it's...
And I think any art does, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But surely, social observation is viewing the universal through the temporary. And if you're just viewing the temporary, then that isn't real social observation.
Excellent.
Yes.
And that... Iqbal.
No.
Yeah, that is...
No. I agree. Here we go.
Come back from that, Iqbal.
I will come back from that. and I think... And that's exactly why I think I write what I write about. Is because I'm not that interested in the kind of, I'm more interested in the universal concepts.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
and you know that, right? I do tend to kind of strive for something that is more long term. Where I think a lot of poets just kind of park themselves in a small window of work.
What I could say it. It strikes me the way things are and have been since 2016 is that everyone has become like Rick from the Young Ones, where everyone's really right on, and it's really irritating. I nearly swore then, Naz. I'm really sorry I didn't swear.
But you didn't. Well done. Well done.
No, but your dad's amazing, so due respect to your father. And your mum, obviously, because she's listening and she's lovely as well, Bronwyn.
Did both of your parents listen?
Yeah, they listen. My dad's told us off for overly...
Well, it's not Naz's quality control.
I do not swear.
No, you don't actually. You're incredibly well
actually, that's
spoken.
True.
You don't
when the mics are on,
sworn.
My potty mouth is switched off.
Yeah, he's right, actually.
He's right. Because I know how to conduct myself.
He does. And that hasn't gone unnoticed.
But it just irritates me because when I was growing up, I don't know, this goes back to the whole politics thing, and it's
What irritates you?
The whole right on thing. Yeah, and I'm not explaining it. I'm not explaining it as eloquently as I could.
So what is the point that you're trying to grasp?
It's going into this whole sort of Lily Allen thing where it's using key buzzwords. It's
Where Rick?
To advance yourself. It's like nepotism.
Yeah.
It's like social nepotism.
So Russell Brand telling everybody not to vote a couple of elections back. Oh, this, that, and the other.
But then he cocks up and changes his mind.
1 second. Let's take the table, throw all the chess pieces off. By the way, I've got a book coming out. You know what I mean? It's just like, And that's what kind of annoys me about it. It's so transparent.
I think
you need those people.
You kind of mentioned Twitter earlier, and
don't get me started.
It's so true on Twitter. Like people will just say things because they think it's gonna strikes some people, and it's not because they believe in it. It's not because
Has offended become a trend?
Tonight,
That's
maybe,
quite a
but
deep state. I don't know. That's quite a
I
deep
think
question.
it has.
yeah, it's a
you
trend.
could write
Nothing offends
you
me.
could write a
Maybe.
poem on that.
Maybe.
You know me, man. I've had.
Yeah, but I think that's
You offend
why.
people.
Yeah, but I think that's why we tend to get along.
It's
Is
a
because
trend.
we will say stuff that
Yeah.
we want to say.
Yeah, but I see my dynamic's completely different in the relationship because, like, I try to mediate. I'd rather mediate than not. And then for me, then to express any sort of deep underlying current is it's hard for me to do. But I'd rather mediate and have people getting on than not. That's why I was sort of referring to like the 2016 culture and saying about Twitter. That's why I won't go on Twitter, because I don't see the net.
I'm not on any social media.
I know, and that's great and that's
Really?
beautiful.
No,
That's
no.
amazing.
My name is on the bands. Minds_minds_.
He is on some social media. You've been roped into the Frequency House stuff, mate. You've had to do that.
Yeah, but that's to just help
Right.
all of us out and put it out. But I'm not on any kind of.
But okay, but
I don't see the net value good. Okay. So without going to get so here's the thing, right? So we're all, the past couple of weeks, everyone's upset about this, that, the other, the election outcome, this, that, and the other. But yet, on the day-to-day micro level, interaction-wise, and not sort of using anything as an example, we can't even be civil to one another without, having some form of friction in the 21st century. What is the disease of the 21st century is incivility, if that's even a word. I think I might have just made it up. But that's my point. There's no, what's the word? Look, imagine it. You've got like
There's just no patience for other people.
Yeah, okay, no
Yeah,
patience.
cool,
And
that
if you
one.
just treat your own back garden as what you should maintain and look after, and then it's like a patchwork quilt of back gardens that all back onto everyone, and just be all right to people. It's as simple as that. There's no great mystery behind it. It's just having patience, as you said, Nia. I totally agree with you on that, and being okay. And you have. I mean, banter aside, banter's great. It's a great way that. Some people will diffuse a situation or will keep people grounded. And, in the words of Huey Morgan, you've got to be, because otherwise fat birds don't fly. It's as simple as that, as much as I love the fun-loving criminals. But I had a bit of a Huey Morgan moment earlier, on Rizzle Kicks. Anyway, my point is, it's easy, just be, not just be nice, but, it's... I don't know. It just frustrates me because it's easily done. Why?
But
Why be horrible?
But there's an
when
underlying-
you can be nice.
Yeah, but there's an underlying problem.
What's the
Is
underlying
I
problem?
I find it even difficult when I visit my nan, myself and my grandmother.
Oh, good.
I
Yes.
sent you some of the
Yes.
recordings.
Yeah. Wow.
I visit my grandmother. We've been close since I was little, and she practically raised me. But when I go visit her, her political views don't align with mine. And really, really, really soon, if I try and voice any opinions I have, she tells me to leave the house, which is just very, very distressing. And in this political climate is unnecessary.
But I can't imagine you being rude about that if you're expressing something.
Exactly.
So what's the reason for her kind of reaction to that then?
Because there's so much pent up rage that she can't when somebody expresses a view that you disagree with, all of that rage comes out on that one person rather than on anyone else. So every time I disagree with her, it's just I'm everything that she hates.
Right, but
I'm everything that I hate. That's a bit harsh.
just hit pause now. What do you need, dude?
What is there a beer down there like an half inch?
Just finish that.
No, it's yours. It's yours. I'm not going to take yours.
There's 2 Swansea Jacks right there.
What else is there? I'll leave it in. It's a Christmas party.
Magic?
Magic.
Thomas Walking Magic.
Oh,
inside
fucking
it.
is that? What is that?
Get that, don't you? Give me one
God,
as well.
not that. You're driving.
What kind of beer do you like?
What kind of beer do I like?
We're going to get into that later on. Hold on.
kind
We're
of-
going to
sorry.
get into that.
What-
What kind of Talisker does he like?
Hold that thought.
Hold that thought. We're going to get into that later on.
But yes, very
Actually,
good.
I think we should bring
Let's
it to
go
that
straight into
because
that now. That's a really good point.
What?
it's the last show of the current series. It's the Christmas/New Year's party. We've all had a bit of a I certainly have had a bit of a shit year.
I've had a...
Yes.
2019 has been disgusing.
Personally,
Personally.
I've
has.
had
You're
a
near,
bad
you're
year.
right.
Simon has probably definitely had a worse year than me. And
Yeah, that...
let's get rid of this nonsense and let's bring
Absolutely.
it in. Let's bring it in for the good points of
Yes.
2019.
Yes.
What has floated your boat in 2019? Let's go with you.
No.
Let's go with you, Simon. 2019 album of the year, brother. Go on. Or not
Well, I
necessarily
thought I
one.
can have good points, but
Yeah, go through the points. So
good
that's
points.
all we got on the table.
Okay,
We got on the table.
the thing that I'm most proud of is the podcast.
Okay.
And I'm not just saying that
Let's start
because
with
I'm
that
not
then.
just
Go
saying
on
that because there's us three and the new
Yeah.
and Nia now who's on the team, which is
Yeah.
lovely, right?
Great.
But
I
yeah.
already found out an hour ago.
Yeah,
Welcome.
yeah, welcome to.
I am happy with that. That's cool.
didn't know before
I'm happy with it as well. My point, the point of the thing is, it's the thing that's probably why you and I have a lot of back and forth emotionally about it, is because I'm very vested in it. And I'm not just saying this.
I think you're more vested in it than anyone here.
Yeah, because it's
In a good way,
I'm
yeah.
proud of it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of what we're trying to achieve, and that's probably why there is sometimes a little bit of frustration with it. You got a list there.
Yeah.
That's why because it's the first time I've actually done something, and it's not because I don't value the bands and the music that I've done. It's just that it's good. You know, I like it.
It's something
I like
solid,
listening
isn't
to
it?
Yeah, it's
something
solid.
solid which we've kind of
It's not bollocks.
created, isn't it? It is, yeah. You're right.
And I remember you talking to me about this when we were like months and months before the podcast happened. He was mentioning it, and I was like, "This is something that Swansea hasn't seen
Had.
yet at all. Like, it's insane. It's so like, and the way that you guys are all interacting with each other is so unique and interesting.
Yeah.
From a psychologist's point of view, yeah.
Trained psychologist.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'll give you your certificates after we finish.
Please don't.
I hope I get a gold star.
Album of the year.
No, I think your
I'm
point
gonna
was good.
start.
With,
No,
with-
but it genuinely is, and that's why I get
Yeah.
frustrated about things with it, because the potential scope with it, and it's not trying to be pretentious, and it's just it's fine. Are you okay?
That's incident of the year.
Incident
That
of
is,
the year,
yeah.
incident of the year.
Yeah.
But no, let's not get into albums or that. Yeah, I like
yeah.
he took it on the right point. The
Yeah.
And the stuff
thing.
with Frequency House as well. I mean, I know we've not like.
Well, next year that we
Yeah,
get into that now.
we've had major teething issues with that because
Well,
like,
we've
Chris
all
has
ha-
been out of action for like God knows
Was-
how many months, and you
Yeah.
have had like a terrible.
So I've been out.
terrible
I've been
year,
out for 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
then-
it's put things back where we didn't want it to be, but nevertheless, we've got to the end of series 1, mate.
Yeah.
You know, on the podcast, we're still getting things.
Think
going.
about it. Sorry.
No, go on. No, I was
It
just going to.
started.
with a kiss.
sorry, I'm sorry. It started with a kiss. It started over your kitchen table, and we were all drunk, and we had you made really exceptionally nice curry, and we were having food.
I did. Yeah, I
And
a chickpea vegan curry.
Yeah,
it
was
was
lush.
vegan. It was.
and it's like,
vegan,
we should
yeah.
do something, and then
disgusted.
and then you brought out all the what's it called, those
Condiments.
condiments. No, the guitar pick makers.
Oh,
and then I went home with
I
one.
did
yeah.
give you
I've still got
guitar
that,
picks.
man.
Still got
How
mine.
do you use
Yeah,
that?
yeah, it's
I
brilliant.
still got
It's brilliant. I
that.
got one in work
What?
still in the thing.
Right. Okay. So.
I do like that,
Yeah.
but I'm sorry, I cannot be those Dunlop black
Yeah,
one
black.
one
One mil,
millimeter.
one mil,
Oh,
one mil
yeah,
nylons,
they're
yeah.
my
Well,
boys.
I tell you what. So the guitar pick maker. Right. So last Christmas, my sister bought me one, and she ordered it off the internet.
It's a year ago, Jesus.
Yeah, it was a year ago, and they cocked up her order. So they basically sent her like 8 for the price of one. It's like, right, well, I know a couple of lads who would actually benefit from that better than I would.
His credit card got smashed up in
Yeah.
about 10 minutes.
Smashed it,
So that's quite good. Right, so album of the year. So we've got a little bit sidetracked. So the first one obviously was Bruce Springsteen, and the second one I really liked it. The Specials, Encore, and that was-
Encore. Fuck.
I tell you what, it was a good album, mate. It was a good album. Brought it up to date, which was really good. So what about yourselves? What were you thinking?
What else have you got, man?
No, let Chris go. Chris go next.
I can see a list in his. What else
Well,
have
I
you
have got a list, but the thing was, we were saying earlier that we couldn't bring in something that wasn't released in
No.
got? You can.
All right, I will, okay.
We'll chuck it all in. If it's an album that came out in
Okay.
1986 and you found it this year.
So an album I've been listening to this year, which I really, really liked. It's probably my top one if it wasn't in 2019, was Casey Musgrave's Golden Hour.
I had to think of that.
Very country.
Who?
Casey Musgraves.
Would I like her?
No.
Oh, come on!
What does she sound like?
She's just very gentle. It's a very pretty album. It's really lovely sort of melodies, very country. But the themes she talks about aren't your typical sort of, sort of storyline for a country song then, should we say. They're kind of big themes. They're sort of things that weave in about life, the universe, all that sort of stuff. So it seems a little bit kind of odd for a country song to do that. So those are my big three, really.
How about you, Chris?
Well done.
What you got going on?
I don't know. I mean, I found myself. I mean, I've always been the heavy music, but this year's been a good year for the heavy stuff, and I found myself going where I've been listening to a lot of like trip hop, hip hop, jazz over the last few years. This year, I've kind of gone back on myself and rediscovered everything that's going to kick my balls. And sorry, Naz. And I'm gonna have to go Blood Year by Russian Circles, instrumental album. If you haven't heard them, check them out. Probably my album of the year. And on the other side, the most ugly, visceral, blast beat, face ripping music was probably Weeping Choir by Full of Hell.
Right, so I'm not familiar with those actually. Si, do you know?
No, you won't get it. You won't like Full of Hell. No.
I was going to sort of pander to Chris and say my albums of the year of everything that I've heard in his car on the way home.
But no, I'm going to go Full of Hell, Weeping Choir, and one which I thought would be a good album, but was probably the best, was Admission by Torch. I genuinely think that is absolutely superb.
Do you think that that's influenced you creatively over the last year more because you've only just started listening to more metal stuff again?
No, it wasn't that I've started to listen to metal stuff more again. I always have. But whereas like the heavier stuff and the metal stuff, and then stuff that's not distorted, I found myself, especially the second half of the year, maybe more so since August, listening to more heavy stuff. Less non-heavy stuff. Because I wanted that kind of uplift, that kind of New York hardcore kind of style. You know, that kind of get into it kind of stuff. And that's probably why it's shaped because like last year, if you asked me, probably my top 3 out of 5 albums probably are jazz albums. Certainly different subgenres of jazz. But this year, I've really found, like I say, since August, second half of the year, really going back into my childhood in a way. Not albums that come out when in my childhood, but kind of really like heavy, distorted. There's a overriding emotion there. Like the Torch Admission album is. What's the single off that?
It's the song Admission, yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
it's beautiful. It's absolutely stunning.
It is. It's heavy and it's beautiful. And it proved that really low-ended, heavy music can be beautifully delicate at exactly the same time. But I would go with that. But opposite, I think, Full of Hell, Weeping Choir, which just sounds like, to quote Monty Python, imagine a human boot standing on your face forever. And that's exactly what it is. And it's, I mean, I got the Full of Hell.
Isn't that like a paraphrase of Orwell?
I thought it was
future.
Orwell.
The future is what is it? A human boot standing on.
You want to picture the future? Imagine a boot standing on a human face forever.
I thought that was 1984.
That is Orwell for 84. I'm sure.
But
it is.
yeah, but Python used it, and that's great. Apart from tragically, obviously. One of my favourite musicians, Cam Scofield's death, Cave-In's Final Transmission, that album is unreal. Yeah. And 2019, for all that's bad, all hail the return of drum king Igor Cavalera with Pet Brick, harsh noise with Brazilian samba rhythms on a heavy thrash kit. All hail Igor Cavalera. And if we're going back to albums, or certainly artists that I've rediscovered, I went on a huge Soundgarden kick this year, man. Really huge Soundgarden kick. I've listened to them for years, but you know, and Deftones. I went on a massive Deftones, and Jesus, man, I forgot how good Around the Fur was until about
it's a
3 months.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I agree with that.
it was probably the first studio album I bought with my own money, and and obviously the jazz style John Coltrane and all that. I'm still loving all that, but for me, I think my 3 top heavy albums of the year, man, are all... my 3 albums of the year are all heavy in terms of weight. But Rediscovery, Soundgarden. It's great to get back into Soundgarden again, man. But that's me.
Right, Si, go on then. What are yours?
Who's the one that you introduced me to? Is it Chelsea Wolfe?
Which one, James?
What's the one where she's eating the horse on the front cover?
Oh, Emma Ruth Rundle.
Emma Ruth Rundle's album.
Sorry, that is also on my list. That's
probably it was this year, wasn't it?
Dark Horses.
Yeah, one of the best albums I've ever heard.
Why?
Because
we left a podcast and put it on for him.
Yeah, we left a podcast and he put it on for me. What used to happen is I'd get in the car with Chris and he'd put something on and go, I was in this boy, and then we would be halfway up the road and he'd go, have you ordered it yet? And I'd be like, yeah, I have, I just ordered it now, because it's without brown nosing him too much, it's our tastes do cross over, but I sort of get, I don't know, I do rely on Chris for a lot of like the stuff that I do like, but so that album is probably up there. But then again, sitting on the fence, to quote David Starkey, because Englishmen or British men like to, I think Western Stars is probably my album of the year, definitely, because
you also bought the
expanded edition. Yeah, I've got, and I've even got.
I quite fancy watching that.
I did more than that. I bought it on day of release with 2 T-shirts. I've ordered the hoodie. I've got the expanded. Yeah, I got the DVD.
I bumped into him in HMV. He was
Springsteen.
Yeah, he was marching around looking for the
Springsteen DVD
documentary for it. Yeah.
So Bruce Springsteen's Western Stars to me, I think, is
it is a great album.
There's 2. I'll try and make it quick because I don't want to bore everyone. But with Springsteen, you have 2 avenues. You have the East Streets Band Springsteen, which is the big grandstanding auditorium and baseball stadiums, and it's a big sort of what's it almost sort of like quasi-religious experience which lasts for 3 hours and everybody's raising their hands in the air. And then also through that you have Springsteen's sort of more introspective series of albums, which would be Nebraska, Devils and Dust, Ghost of Tom Joad, Western Stars, and there is another which I'm leaving out but I can't remember off the top of my head, where he's kind of on his own and it's very introspective, and Western Stars is part of that. To disagree with Iqbal slightly, the stories which are on play are very romantic and they are very positive, in my opinion. I don't think they're negative. I think it's. I
don't think I said.
Well, yeah, no, not negative, but like you.
I think I said they. No. I said that they were quite. It was quite a wistful, romantic look back at the that kind of American journey, that American story. But the only minor criticism I had was on Tucson Train. That was literally it.
Well, it's just a.
It was a lyrical point.
It's just an absolute. It's absolutely fantastic. Rediscoveries of this year, Bill Frisell, quite possibly not the greatest guitarist of all time, but
Jam with Earth.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he knows his thing. You need to come closer.
No, Kyle.
No, but when I come to edit this,
no one will know what you said.
Know what you said.
Bill Frisell, Jam with Earth. That's what I said.
Yeah. Bill Frisell's he's a massive influence on me. Who else have I been listening to vehemently? I don't know. Big Country. I still love Big Country and a massive. Oh, that's a ridiculous thing to say, but it's true. I don't know.
Well, let's move on to Nia. Nia, what have you been listening to this year? What are your albums of the year?
I don't know. So the only album this year that I think. So I've been kind of hectic with changing degrees and not consuming anything this year, because Cambridge kind of does that to you as a person. You lose everything and you become the degree that you have chosen. But there is one. Is the EPs count?
Of course they do. Absolutely.
Okay. So there is one album that It's by Caddy and it's called Craithai, and it's a Welsh language EP.
What kind of music is it?
It's kind of like soft pop, I think.
Okay.
I'd define it as. But it's the first time in my life that I've listened to a Welsh language track and genuinely thought that it was at the forefront of its genre.
Interesting.
Because so often I listen to Welsh language musicians and I think this is great and this is really interesting and this is beautiful, but it's not like anything special in the genre that it's trying to perform under. And this song by Caddy is just really beautiful.
Do you play any of that in your radio show?
Yeah, we played some Welsh language
Welsh
tracks.
language, yeah.
Quite a lot.
Cool, man.
Because I'm an asshole.
Sorry, Naz. Take it to Cambridge.
Yeah.
How does that go down then?
Well, my
have you
presenter's
had
always
much
like, if
feedback?
you didn't realise Nia's Welsh, and I'm like, oh.
Right.
But then you have to make that, like you just said, that point. But when you got artists like Norwegian black metal, singing in Norwegian, not that I'm a fan, but Rammstein singing in German, no one bats an eyelid at that. They always kind of big it up.
Yeah.
And I'm really not a big Welsh language kind of advocator, but it's interesting to hear that in terms of the language, like you feel like you have to defend it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when other artists come out with different their native languages, everyone thinks it's cool or different.
I think that there's like two types of... So I think that English has for so long dominated the forefront of music that there's kind of two types of language or other language genres. There's like imitation and there's original, which sounds stupid.
No.
But like Welsh has been for so long musically imitational. Like everything that comes out is either like country and western imitations from the 60s that you have to listen to on BBC Radio Cymru, or it's like or it's like kind of original, but you just want something that makes you really excited about the language and makes you really understand why people would sing in the language, because every language has a benefit and every language has a rhythm that works with it that's different to English, that doesn't work in English, like a sound or a very, very minute subgenre.
Is that
doesn't
downplaying
work.
it? Like I mean, so I'm the very last person who will bring up the Welsh language, and people hearing this might think, "What's he on about?" But you talk about the country there. The country comes from the Irish and the Welsh bringing their, and the Scots bringing their Celtic rhythms to these instruments, and it's become what it's become now, country. So in a way, in a roundabout way, maybe that's more original than the Americana countries, or is that what you're referencing there? But it's kind of died along the way.
I think that it's more like direct imitational stuff, like the same tune, the same country tune that just has a Welsh language lyricism on top of it, like just imposes that kind of thing. I'm gonna totally spoil this about everything. I'm so sorry. Keep it away from me.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'll move it over here. But like, no, I understand that, but I think that there's kind of a fear about trying to create something that doesn't conform in Wales, especially in Welsh language communities, that I think that this EP moves away from. And I think if you listen to it, you understand that like she uses the language to inform the rhythm, and that's something that's really important, and kind of something that links to what we were talking about earlier with the rhythm.
And they call Caddy. And I'm assuming that's C-A-D-D-I, is it?
C-A-D-I.
C-A-D-I, okay. Sorry. Okay, I'll check that. What's the EP called?
Craithai.
I'll check that out, man.
So what else did we want to look at in terms of, I suppose books as well, wasn't it?
Cinema.
A little what?
Both.
Cinema.
I honestly have not got into any book this year.
Right, okay.
I haven't.
Okay.
It's just...
Well,
But if you have, go on, man.
well, okay. So I've read a few.
Yeah.
I've read a few.
That's what I love about you. You do read.
Lady
Do
Well,
read
you
books.
say that. Yes, you say that, but I don't read a lot, honestly.
You read a lot more than me.
The book that I read actually quite enjoyed.
ABC
was-
by the Ladybird Books.
No.
Okay.
Something,
one of my
something-
favourites.
Something potentially worse than that.
1, 2, 3 by Ladybird.
The Hungry Caterpillar.
How dare
a
you?
banger.
How dare you? How very dare you?
That is
A classic.
People bang on about War and Peace. Sod that. Hungry Caterpillar every time.
This was Hercule Poirot's Christmas.
Oh, I love you, man.
You've read that?
That's
I
amazing.
I did.
That fop. That Belgian
Come
fop
on,
detective.
why not?
No.
I actually quite enjoyed
How did
that,
you?
right?
Why did you pick that up and
I
read it?
picked that because it was in Waterstones
Go on.
and it had a wonderful cover. A wonderful cover on it. It's like,
Well, that's the same as
and it
picking up
says,
an album.
and it
with
says on the
artwork,
front
man.
cover, it says Hercule Poirot's Christmas. I mean, what else is there not to like about that?
I never watched it. I never got into it.
I
Never
mean,
read it.
come
so.
on, it was,
David Suchet.
David's, yeah. So
brilliant.
So I actually really quite enjoyed that. I've read a couple of poetry books. None of them are actually from this year. But one of the guys that I read was a guy called Jericho Brown.
Jericho Brown.
Jericho Brown.
Sounds like a wrestler.
He
Yeah,
does.
it is, yeah.
yeah.
Sounds what?
Hmm?
Sounds what?
Like a wrestler. There was because there was a
Yeah,
wrestler
maybe,
Jericho.
maybe.
Cincinnati, Ohio, weighing 235 pounds.
Jericho
Brown.
Jericho the Truck Brown. So Picador Press, a book called The New Testament, and honestly, it's worth reading because
What's the concept? Right?
right. Well, I'm not going to go into the concept stuff, but I tell you why I really like this book. Right, because the first opening lines on a lot of his poems are just fucking dynamite. All right,
swore then.
apologies for the.
Naz, I'm really sorry
yeah,
your son
yeah.
swore again.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was my first one for a while now. Actually, in
We're all
fact,
disappointed.
but the
Potty
New Testament,
mouth.
his openings for a number of his poems are absolutely rock solid. And if you want to know how to kind of get into like that first step into a poem, I think that was he was great for that. I've read a couple of others. Spells, 21st Century Occult Poetry.
That freaked me
Ignata
out
Press.
when you brought
Yeah,
that
why
book.
What's
though?
that? Go on. What's that?
What was that?
Occult
Right.
poetry. Go
So
on.
it's Ignata Press, 2018, called Spells, and it says 21st Century Occult Poetry. And I know when
Go
I
on.
brought this into the shop to show Simon, he was like, "Man, you don't want to be messing with that stuff."
Oh, mumbo
Why,
jumbo.
why
Go on.
did it weird you out, Simon?
Because I think that you need to. I don't know. I just.
Yeah, but you don't
Yeah,
buy
but
into religion.
When you first
And
read
it's
it,
the
what did you
same
think?
crack. It's all.
It was a pretty book, man. It was really
what
cool.
annoys me about Satanism is it's essentially it's not Satanism, but it's just
It's occultism.
It's a cult.
Two different things.
Oh, yes, you're right, and I'm wrong, and I will apologise
Yeah.
for that. You're quite right. It is two different things, but I think that you need to be careful.
Yeah,
Things like
but
that.
but the only thing I would say to that
Stare
is
into the void and void looks back.
right, it's not the book is not about that. Right,
Massive
the
problems.
actual book of poetry is not about this kind of
Give
weird
me the flavour
satanic
of it, man.
occultist kind of stuff. It's essentially under the guise of wordplay, casting spells through language. It's not any way to do with some sort of dark vibe to kind of draw down some weird spirit from the ether. It's nothing about that at all.
But that's if you took those poems on, you put it to say like a heavy Black Sabbath influenced doom riff, and you had the singer singing it. No one would look at it the same way. They'd think, oh, it's a doom band
Yeah.
doing the stereotypical.
No one would
70s
slag it
occult
off.
thing.
Of course they wouldn't. And this is the thing. But it was. But the reason I picked that book up was because it was beautifully crafted. The whole engineering of that book in itself, just
I'll
the
have to
look
see
of
it.
it, the
And it's
cover
called
of it.
21st Occult. 21st Century Occult.
Poetry.
by-
I mean, Ignata Press.
So it's a compilation. It's not one
Yeah.
author.
It's compilation poets.
I will
But
check that out.
it's worth having a look at it just because it's so different. I like different a lot.
Yeah, cool.
And the other book that I'd read was, as we said earlier, Kate Tempest, Let Them Eat Chaos.
I have read a book this year thinking about it.
Go on, what is it?
It was
Jack Army? Something to do with swans?
No, I got it on that.
Oh, don't be like that.
It's a tease.
Football
mate,
is
come on.
beautiful.
Yeah,
No,
it is beautiful.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
No,
it
the
like
book
that.
I got into, man, was Roger Merritt. The
Roger
singer, Merritt. He's the
Yeah.
singer for Agnostic Front. His book is it came out maybe a year or two ago, but I only managed to read it this year. And it just clicked with me, oh, bloody yeah, I've read the book. It's worth a read. It's all about growing up in the New York hardcore, being an immigrant from Cuba. It's interesting.
That sounds quite cool.
I'm a huge Agnostic Front fan, and it's worth a read. It really is worth a read.
What about you guys? What are you reading or otherwise of this year? Anything?
I read a book on lighthouses.
Lovely.
Oh, that's classic.
I love
Literally,
that.
is that the only book you've read this year?
When you
No.
say about lighthouses, what is it
wonderful.
about lighthouses?
So like most of the books I read this year have been like the handbook of attachment, or like child psychology, or like developmental psychology 101.
Yes.
But this book I read at the start of the year, and it's called Sea Shaken Houses, and it's basically a look at all the rock. Is a history of the rock lighthouses in Britain, but from a semi-historical perspective.
How did you get into that?
I was really sad.
In what way?
Were you hanging out down
Emotionally? Or
I was really emotionally sad. And I went into Waterstones in Cambridge, and I went upstairs, and there was this book that had a lighthouse on the front, and I was like, I miss Wales. So I picked up the lighthouse book, and on the front, in the front bit where the dedication quote is, it was a quote from Dylan Thomas, and it was sea shaken houses on a bedrock of broken necks, or something like that. Some Dylan Thomas quote, which was really pretty.
Why are they in my house drinking yet again?
Why am I drunk yet again?
I've still not heard Dark Throne. But that sounds pretty cool, man. How you got into that?
Yeah, so I just read this book on lighthouses, and it was just a history of the lighthouses that have been built on rocks in the UK. So not the ones that are like on...
I hear what you mean. Not like Swansea Lighthouse.
Yeah,
like
not the ones that are attached to the land,
Yeah.
but the ones that are literally in the middle of the fucking sea and are attached...
Sorry, Naz.
middle of the sea. Sorry, Naz.
Which is really bizarre and
Yeah.
spookily
Spookily.
coincidental. Because we're recording this on the 23rd of December, and I would say on the 20th. Yeah, Friday the 20th, I finished rehearsal at 11 o'clock, got home about midnight, wide awake, got the iPad out, clicking through things, and top 10 strangest lighthouses in the world
And you've got to have
on
a
my
look.
life, and they were all built on these mad rocks, and how,
Yeah.
and it was about a 15-minute
Rocks
little
in the
document.
middle of the sea.
Yeah, and why they did it there, how they did it there, and like one's like from the 1800s, and like
Absolutely, that's what this book
Nia
is
just
about.
pulled this out, and I'm like,
Well, I've got to be honest.
Jesus.
I actually looked into one.
So that-
actually living it in a lighthouse. I do it.
I'd
would.
do it.
Yeah,
I would.
absolutely,
I do it.
100%.
Not in one of those. So I'd live in a lighthouse that was connected to the land in some way, at least tidally. But the ones that
Yeah.
are just out in the
Yeah,
middle
I'm
of
a
the
bit of a
sea.
wimp like that as well. So
Like,
I'd probably.
that
but that
You can actually
documentary,
you can go to
pulled that
local
out,
Aldi's.
that was that when you said that, I thought, that is mental.
And honestly, I think even just for the aesthetic of the book alone, like the cover is beautiful. Just looking at it and just holding the book, I'll bring it in.
What's your
sometime.
2019? What's your favorite lighthouse for 2019?
Does it have to be built this year?
no, because none of them would have been. But
Probably the Eddystone Lighthouse.
oh, I love that.
Yeah, just because it's had such an impact on the British education system.
Yeah.
Everyone knows about it.
Because that was originally built and it
By
smashed in a
Yeah.
storm. Like
It was-
immediately, it's like, look at this wonderful. Like, oh,
damn boys.
I like
now we're gonna have to
what I
build the
liked
concrete.
about what I liked about Eddystone is he only built that one lighthouse, didn't he? It
Yeah,
was just-
several
it was-
times.
oh right, he rebuilt
Yes.
it. He rebuilt it.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to get in a lighthouse conversation with me? Tell him now.
Listen,
No, I'm already out.
we've
my
read
depth.
books, we've watched documentaries.
Yeah,
Wow.
you are out of your depth,
Yeah.
ironically. And there's no lighthouse going to guide you in here.
No. Some dark waters ahead, mate. So
How about you, Simon? What's
Thank you
What's been your
for-
book of the year?
yes.
I don't want to say it because he's going to get annoyed if I say it.
No, do it.
What?
Annoy him.
Gulag Archipelago. I'm halfway through it.
Are you?
Yeah. Alexander
Solzhenitsyn.
Solzhenitsyn. It's about the
Good choice.
yeah. I'm not intelligent enough to.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
Come
not.
on. Summarise the first couple of
It's
chapters.
essentially about the state of the gulags in Russia and how quickly things can descend under communism. And it is literally a warning from history. It's terrifying to read. And it's also terrifying to show how complicit people can be within any form of fascist order, where they just let things slide and slide and slide, and then eventually one day they come for you, as it were. But it's so much more than that. There's not enough time to really go into it. It's very heavy reading. It's very distressing. I'm also, that's pretty much what I've been trying to tackle this year. And that sounds really pretentious, but yeah,
that sounds like a
That
good
sounds
book.
so interesting.
It's not.
I tell you a book I did read.
I'm massive fan on communist atrocities. Not a fan of them, but just.
Well, no, I mean, who would
We've
be?
had this discussion
Yeah.
before. We had a very heated discussion
A book
about.
I did read and I really didn't like was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret
Really?
Atwood. Yeah,
It's a very good. Why didn't you like that?
I haven't
Yeah.
seen the series.
No. Forget the
but-
series.
yeah,
The book-
I've never seen it, but I
It's
just
all taken from real life. She never writes anything from fiction.
right. Okay, so what I didn't like about it was just the manner in which it was written, basically. So, like stylistically, I didn't find it just like a very easy read. I just find it a little bit jarring.
That's understandable.
And to be honest with you, the story itself was just so condensed into it was such a simple story. It was like there was no major kind of development going on. It was just a very straightforward story, and I just found it a bit on the simplistic side when it's with the story side of it, and also it didn't get anywhere, and the language was just a bit rubbish.
I
for
will
me.
I will come into defence because obviously I didn't read. I've not read the book, but it was as the film adaptation left a huge impact on me when I was growing up. I think Robert Duvall's in the movie adaptation of it, and it scared the bejesus out of me when I saw
think
it
it would
as a
work
kid.
really well as a
Because
series of
it
films,
was
which I
just
haven't watched.
it's because I've said this before, because I'm not I rally against any man who says he's a feminist, because I think they're dangerous. They just are sneak thieves, trying to get around the back very quickly. But what I'm saying is that from my point
You
of view,
shoehorned that one.
any form of I don't want to sound like a social justice warrior, but any form where anybody is subjugated or is stopped from being themselves really pisses me off. Sorry, Naz. It really gets to me, and I just don't like the fact that, and this is going to make me sound like a libertarian here, and perhaps maybe in some respects I am. I don't think the states has any right to impinge on anybody's freedoms to do their thing, So that's what scared me. It was the dystopian nature of it.
Okay, that's quite a nice little detour.
Yeah, but
so
not
far in the
too
podcast.
much. Not too much of a detail.
Film of the year.
No, film of the year.
Can that also extend to series?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, you
Entertainment,
I
visual
actually have a
entertainment of the year.
Visual entertainment, yeah.
Right. Can I tell you the two films I haven't seen? And I
That's
really
rubbish. That's like it can be any number of films.
I know.
You just
No,
And
there's
we
two.
can describe them to him.
Yeah,
just
you
like
can
go into
describe. It's
Blockbuster
fine.
and throw
It's
something
fine.
at the wall and just
It's
go,
fine.
"Oh, I haven't seen Gone with the Wind."
I really,
You like to find a blockbuster.
I really
Yeah,
want to watch.
there is one left.
Is there where?
Alaska.
There's one left in Alaska.
I'm not joking.
Alaska
Only
did
you
what?
would know that.
That's true. No, that's
Alaska
true. Yeah.
did what?
The only last remaining blockbuster.
I'd love to live in Alaska.
Blockbuster.
I
Oh
video.
my god, I'd love to live there.
The rental video thing,
Oh my
Blockbuster.
god. There was one in
Alaska.
Forest Park, wasn't there?
Yeah,
It was.
But the one in Alaska is amazing because it serves the community, because they don't have good internet connections. So basically, that's what they've got, and that's why it's so beautiful and so important that it's there. It's like a meeting place for people.
Let's go.
Let's go. Right.
So
well,
the two films
I
that you haven't
I
seen.
haven't
What a
yet
stupid
seen.
start.
I haven't seen.
What's your visual entertainment?
I
of the year?
haven't
Well,
as
I've
yet.
not seen them.
I
But
haven't.
I'm assuming it probably will be these.
Yeah,
Oh, the game's
Hey, look,
all over the place.
why
This
not?
podcast is ruined.
Like I told you I'd switch it up. I told you I'd switch
Go
it up.
on then.
So the one,
Nia's never
the
coming
ones
back,
I
and
haven't-
that's it.
The ones I
Don't blame
haven't
her.
seen are the new Star
I hope
Wars
you do.
movie. And
I
also,
haven't seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it came out a
Do you
week
really want to
no,
watch
it came out 2 days ago.
Come on, what were the two films
And
you
Should
the
we
didn't
other
go
one-
see?
see it as a podcast?
We should.
I
we
would,
should.
I would.
Oh, there we are.
What were the two films you didn't
That's
see?
the first one.
Star
That's the
Wars.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one is Knives Out, which I
God.
really,
What's
really
that?
I
want
haven't
to watch
seen
that.
that either.
I haven't seen
Yeah,
that.
you see?
It's a
Well
who
done,
done
That's what I
it.
mean.
What's
That's what I
Knives
mean.
Out?
None of us have seen it.
What's Knives Out?
Knives Out is like a murder mystery with
Yeah, but
Daniel
that means
Craig.
that
and stuff.
none of us
Never heard
can
of it.
give any insight.
Yeah, but
that means all of us will just go, yes,
Do
you
you-
haven't seen
Nia,
it.
do you wanna watch it?
Okay.
do you want to watch it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that
that's
doesn't matter.
I've
That's
never
what I
heard
mean.
it. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's get back to Sense. What have you watched? What are your films of the year?
My film of the year technically came out at roughly around this time last year. But I saw it within a week of the new year, and I saw it today within a week of the end of the year, and it has, without doubt, the best opening scene of any film, and that is the Bumblebee movie.
The what?
Bumblebee movie.
Yeah.
Watching
Don't-
Optimus Prime coming out of nowhere, booting these, just like Iranagi choking Decepticons, booting their heads.
Oh,
Brilliant,
my God.
brilliant,
You two, I tell you what.
brilliant.
Don't stop
I hope-
sliding
And you
off
have a
tracks
go at
with
me.
me.
And you have a go at me.
No, and
At least I didn't watch something sensible.
what I
You
realized,
haven't let him speak.
and a disgrace to humanity, and I don't cut this out. Michael Bay can kiss my ass. He has ruined millions of people's childhoods.
Correct.
He's the one who made the Transformers movies, and just thought, well, I don't want to make them like that. I'm going to make them retarded looking. I'm going to make them look like these robots, bicentennial beings. They're not robots. And just the way it was portrayed was just pathetic. And let's get as much explosions in it as we can. Well, this new guy, Knight, came along, made it like they looked in the original cartoons, did well. The movement in the CGI was more human-like. And I wanted to go in hating it. I want to go, here's another one to ruin my childhood. And I walked away with it, with the vision of my 4-year-old son, well, 3 at the time, the best thing he'd ever seen. And the look on his face when he just thought, when it opened up the way it did, and it was just like, fingers up the nose, ripping people's heads off. Oh my God. Not people, but, imaginary transformers. Oh my God, this is a bit over the top. And I looked down at him and he's like, yes. And I thought, yeah, that's what I did. Wow. Fair play, son. And I suppose it's probably more of an emotional attachment, but I generally think I wanted to hate it. I did.
But it's so
But
nice
it
when
was,
someone does that and reconnects with you in that way.
Yeah, and he was just like, when he watched it, he was just like, oh, this might be too much, And I looked down, and he's just like, devil horns. Yeah. Good on him.
He obviously takes it after his own mind.
Yeah, but it could have been worse. But I enjoyed it, and it was it soaring and soar up the year. So there's an emotional attachment there. But other than that, though, I would say I really enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I thought that was a good film.
Haven't seen
I haven't
it.
seen that yet.
I thought that was a good film in terms of
Have you seen
script.
it?
It's not his best. It could be. It could have been better, but it was one of the better
No
films this
Ghosters?
year. And I saw another film which was really cool this year. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember. There was one film I saw and it was wicked, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll enjoy that.
Let's go
But
to
it couldn't be
Simon.
that good because I can't remember it.
Simon, what have you seen?
Film
What
of
have
the
you
year?
highlighted? Yeah.
Le Mans 66, or as it was...
Oh.
or as it
Matt
was out
Damon
and
and
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale doing...
Christian
Bored
Bale's in it.
the shit out of
Favourite
me.
Batman.
I couldn't get into it, man. I know the story.
What, they just race around a track?
No, it was more than that, but I just couldn't get into it.
What's the
Didn't
plot?
enjoy
I
it.
have no idea.
They
I've
race
been
around
in
a
the
track.
bubble for
It's
years.
a true
24
story.
True story is about Ken Miles and
Carroll Shelby, who is synonymous with the design of the Shelby Mustang, one of the most iconic muscle cars in American culture. It's an underdog story about two. There's a lot which has been dramatized for TV, but it's about Ford's attempt to win Le Mans in '60s over Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari. It's a very interesting film, but there's something for me considering what happened this year with my dad, and that's not to sort of like try and throw a sentimental curveball your way with your criticism of the film, but my dad was a huge enthusiast of cars. He was an engineer, and for me to go in there from a sound design point of view, everything was fantastically laid out in the film. It was gripping. I loved watching the cars on the track. It was just fantastic. Christian Bale, for all his misgivings, I just thought he was fantastic in the movie. I like Matt Damon a lot. I do. I think it was a hell of a film.
Matt Damon.
It is a very dad film, but it was just nice. It was a damn good film, and it was about cars, and
You've
boring.
painted that well, actually.
I can't work out which one of you said Matt Damon.
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Matt Damon.
It's an underdog story.
Yeah, I'm tempted.
Yeah, and
I'm
how
tempted to watch
many
it.
times do you watch a major international movie where the central character's from Birmingham? It was absolutely sublime to hear a Brummie accent, a Midlands accent on the big screen. It was fantastic.
That was possibly what put me off. That accent grates me down.
The other thing that I absolutely loved and I thought was literally saved a franchise was Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian, which isn't strictly
It's a series,
film.
isn't it?
It's a series.
I haven't seen it
Is that
yet.
the one with Baby Yoda?
Baby Yoda, the greatest thing ever.
So how far before Star Wars
it's
is it
set 5 years after Episode 4.
5 years after
5 years
Episode 4.
after.
But Yoda was a...
It's
was
no,
in it
it's
then?
not. It's not Yoda. See, it's
a baby Yoda.
It's of his species.
Oh, right.
But
So hang on, is this an animation?
No, it's a...
right. Okay, look, just stop. I'll give you the thing on it. Okay, so the thing with that is it is very smart storytelling because I'll give you the potted history of it. George Lucas takes a lot of his influence from Flash Gordon and Akira Kurosawa. There's a particular film called Hidden Fortress, which is told from the perspective of two servants, which in Star Wars then become the droids, which are C-3PO and R2-D2. That's what the perspective of the story is. Even so much so that George Lucas takes a lot of the shots and framing cinematography exactly as it is in Hidden Fortress for Star Wars. So here's the other thing with it. Akira Kurosawa is heavily influenced by, I think Ford, who is it John Ford? I can't remember. Who was a Western director. So it's basically trying to tell a Western story from the perspective of Japanese culture. And then he was so flattered by what Akira Kurosawa did, he tried to sort of interpret it into American culture. And then you have Sergio Leone, who takes a huge influence from Yojimbo and some of the other samurai films to create things like let's say the man with no, not the man with no name, a fistful of
the ugly.
a fistful of dollars, which is essentially a retelling of Yojimbo, and it's just inspired. So Jon Favreau comes into the franchise, saves it, and basically takes it back to its very origin, which is this influence and mashup between Eastern and Western cinema, and Baby Yoda, or the Mandalorian as it's known, is it's if you ever watched, do you ever heard, this goes back to Wu-Tang Clan, you ever heard of Lone Wolf and Cub? It's essentially like watching Lone Wolf and Cub in space. And I love the Wu-Tang Clan and anything to do with Kung Fu movies. I can't help it, or anything to do with Westerns. So it fulfills all of these things for me. And I just love it. I can't get enough of it. It's earthy,
Again,
it's gritty.
another one you painted well, mate. I think
not
I'll probably
really.
no. I
Series,
think
I'm
it's a series.
convinced.
It's all right.
So
It's not
where is that series-wise? Is it?
I can't say because I've been watching it illegally online.
right. So
But-
if I was
I think
to
on
watch it, where would it be?
Prime. I think it's not Prime. Is
Amazon
it?
Prime.
Prime. I think it's on
I think
Prime.
it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's on
Disney Prime, isn't it?
Disney's version of
Okay.
Amazon Prime.
So I
Don't
need
shut
to-
my
I
internet
need-
down,
I
please,
need to-
Disney.
I need to find it.
It's really good.
Okay. So, Nia, go on then. So what's your film thing going on?
Well, so I stopped watching TV like 3 years ago.
You haven't watched Match of the Day for 3 years.
It's true. But the only thing that I've watched this year is Dexter.
That's kind of like a rediscovery, isn't it?
Yeah, I
They
guess-
finished
I
it like
guess-
3 years ago, didn't they?
I guess
I
it
think so.
is.
I've
I
never
guess
seen
it
it.
is.
It's good, man.
And I literally like walked in on my parents watching it, and I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, why are you watching this?"
Sorry, Naz.
And sorry,
Sorry, Dennis.
I walked in on my parents watching it, and then I started like listening to it and watching the first series, and it's really, really rare that I get excited about TV series because I have no attention span. I can't stay focused for more than 45 minutes.
I'm the
Very
same.
maximum.
Well, no, I've got the attention span, but it's hard to buy me into a TV series. I've given loads a go. Like Breaking Bad, everyone's banging on about it. I give it a
Same,
go,
I just couldn't do
but
it.
Breaking Bad, I really enjoyed it.
I didn't
Really
enjoy
enjoyed it.
Breaking Bad. I don't.
Game
Never-
of Thrones, on the other hand,
Never got into it.
Like when he starts like acting like he's not a teacher anymore, I'm like, stop. You're not a
Never-
teacher.
well, no, everyone was banging on about it, and I will always give it a go. And a bit like the Bumblebee, I thought, I want to hate this, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. The other hand, possibly the biggest crap I've ever seen is Game of Thrones, and I really enjoy stuff like that, of that kind of
He is
nature.
right.
But people,
No.
even my father, I
No,
thought,
he
if
is
he's,
right.
No,
if
he's
he's
right.
big,
No,
if
no,
my dad
no.
bigged it up. I thought, okay, if he's bigging it up, I will
Good
watch him.
series.
No.
And I watched
Gratuitous
it,
violence, but
and I love that. I love a bit of violence.
I'm not a big fan of that.
It's if it didn't have nudity and swearing, it would have gone on the Disney Channel. It is nothing. It's nothing of any.
it was a
interest.
good-
right.
no,
He's
no,
right.
no.
No.
It was a
No,
good-
no.
no, it's a good
no.
series.
Take the breasts and the F word out of it, and the bastards.
No, I still
and
think it
it's
was a good
nothing.
series.
Chris is really
It did
right on the
nothing
money with
for
that.
me.
No, he is right.
I
disagree with that.
I'd rather buy a Cardiff City season ticket than watch that again.
Why do you disagree there?
Why do I disagree? Well, admittedly, I haven't seen the last series.
Don't
right?
bother.
Because everyone is literally saying that it's the worst
It's
thing
awful.
ever. So
she
I,
led the dragons to kill everyone.
yeah, so I've literally not bothered.
Spoiler
I've not
alert.
I've not watched the end. But
Tough.
I actually really enjoyed the series, man. I thought it was really good.
And I haven't seen it, I just
But
think what I've been
I
told.
did have an issue with the level of violence in it. I
No,
just thought it was
well, I don't
wrong.
have a level.
No, there's no level
I
of
did.
violence.
No, what I'm
is
saying
wrong.
is, I thought it was.
Chris is absolutely right. It is just, it. You know what I mean? It's
It's a poor man's Lord of the Rings.
Yes, thank you.
And they're like, how do I conquer
true.
this? How do I conquer
That's
this?
true.
Let's stick some F-bombs in it and a pair of breasts and we'll win it.
Yeah, it's just.
And let's get Sean Bean, he's about to die.
It's
And
it's really condescending. It's lazy writing, and yeah, it's this expansive world. It's fantastic, but Chris is on the money with it. It is. You watch it, see, that's the thing, and I'm not
Each
trying
to
to
their
sound-
own. Each to their own, right? But I just did not dig that
I'm with
at
it.
all.
I'm watching it from like the love of fantasy and the love of dragons. One of my
Yeah.
favorite films as a kid was an animated series, an animated film called The Flight of Dragons, which goes into the whole dynamics of how dragons live. I won't even get into it. But The Flight of Dragons is another story for another podcast. Anyway, but the point of the fact of the matter is this. You watch Game of Thrones, it's fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Oh, breasts. Oh, sex. Oh, for God. And it takes away from the whole thing of it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's true. Yeah, I would agree with that.
if I really want that, I'll go and watch Pornhub. Okay, I wanted to be invested in it. You know, yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
My second favourite film. I've
Same
seen.
for but
No,
Well,
I just
Okay.
for something. There's certain things that I don't like, which are super hyped, and I can still see the why people get into it, and that I just couldn't. And
Well,
it
I've
comes
gotta be
from a
honest.
genre which I really like I like Lord of the Rings and all that and that kind of thing. Apart from that Harry Potter bullshit, I didn't, flush that down the toilet. But I just could not, and I give it 4 goes. I watched the first series up to episode 4 first. Couldn't get into it. Give it a few months and we were like, let's give it another go. Got up to episode 7. Couldn't get into it. I think we give it 3 or 4 months and they brought out another 2 series. We've got to give this a go now. Come on, let's give it a go. And we got pretty much the end of the first. I was just like, this is dire. I just cannot. And I've seen bits of latter series, and it just...
Well, I gotta be honest, I thought it was alright. I tell you, a series,
all right, though, isn't it? All right, so brilliant.
Yeah,
is it?
well, hence I haven't watched.
All right, it's Wrexham Town, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, I
Did you
wouldn't say
watch
that
the
bad.
football on the weekend, Wrexham?
I wouldn't say that bad, but
Sorry.
it does go to show the fact that I haven't actually watched the last series.
Don't bother.
And I don't intend to. There we are.
I think I'd rather watch Coronation Street. than
One
Coronation.
series I have just finished
Coronation
watching, which has been out
Street with dragons.
ages, is
Don't say anything about Bet Lynch. Go on, sorry.
is Murder and Successful.
In what?
Have you seen Murder and Successful?
We know what
with
your
Tom
sitches
Davis?
have been.
What, Bet Lynch on Pornhub? I don't think that even exists.
Leopard print and
Bet
dragons.
Lynch Raw.
Oh.
Sorry.
Was what? Say that again. I'm sorry. I apologise, Iqbal. What did you say?
Murder in Successville.
What's it about?
Well, it's a sort of murder mystery. It's a live thing where a celebrity comes in and pretends to be the like a detective with a detective. Yeah, no, it is. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's very funny. It's a comedy. It's
First
comedy.
Poirot and now detective.
Yeah,
What's going
yeah.
on?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
You can becoming a cop. You turn into the side of
Maybe
the
he wants to
angels.
be a
Maybe.
probation officer.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Let's leave that one where it is. So that was it, really. That was my sort of meandering into.
Where did you
what
see
I'd
that?
watched.
What's it on?
I think you can get it on iPlayer or something like that. BBC iPlayer.
It's BBC.
Yeah, it's
heard
a funny series. It's a very, very funny
So,
series.
what's everyone's
Tipple.
thoughts on the way the podcast has gone? Is there anything that we think?
I don't need to interrupt you there, but I think we have missed out a massive
Oh,
award
Go on.
on the Frequency House Beer of the Year. And then there've been a few too. I mean, I know you're into the whiskies and whatnot. I prefer my rums, but specifically beers,
Well,
bitters,
right.
IPA, lagers. They all come
Right.
into this one.
Right. So
And it's a tough call.
what we're talking about is beers we've drunk here.
It can be, or maybe ones that we've had are not. Are
Right.
not
Okay.
Yet, but
Well, I will say the beer of the year for me is pretty much always going to be the same. But I have drunk it here. What is it? It's Gower Gold, mate. It's an absolute winner.
it's a good beer. It's a good beer.
You can't beat it. I mean, of all the beers we've tried,
You can beat it by the same brewery, in my opinion. Shipwrecked, a lighter version, not lighter
Right,
in that in
yes.
percentage,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
lighter in taste.
Yeah.
I mean, Gallagher is an absolute bloody winner for me every time. But Shipwrecked took that, and it's the same brewery. For me, it took
which
it
is the
from
brewer. Which is the brewer?
Gower Brewery,
Gower Brewery. Yeah.
Crofty Massive, keep it large.
Mass.
Love it. It's not just good that you get a local brewer, which is good, a local brewer that succeeds. So shout out to Gower Brewery, shout out to Gower Gold, simply Gower Power for having the name. And but for me, Shipwrecked is my favourite beer. I also like this from Thomas Watkin, the Swansea Jack beer.
Well, we've been plugging these guys for
It is
majority
nice.
of the podcast.
They ain't
And
gonna.
I just realised he's got Swansea. The chant is Swansea, oh Swansea, oh city, said I.
It doesn't say
and
that
brings
on there.
It,
Does it say
it bloody does.
Oh, it
It
does.
does.
Say it. All right. Okay.
Standing
Oh, that's a
on the
nice
north
touch.
bank
That's a
till
nice
the
touch.
day I die. Brings a tear to thine eye.
Right. Right. So your beer is
But the beer for me, for the year, it's tough. I found and I'm not a huge lager fan, but I really like this one called Frontier from London. A lovely lager called Frontier.
brewer.
Damn my eyes, I can't remember. It might be them.
Damn
Frontier.
your eyes.
But my beer of the year, beer of the year,
Oh, there are rumblings, are there?
the Swansea Jack is good.
All right. Si, what's yours, man?
Hang on,
No, let him finish.
Oh, I thought you
Sorry.
were.
this is a tough call. I'm gonna have to go for the IPA by Thomas Watkin.
Thomas Watkin.
The pale
a
blue
good shout. That's a good
label with the
shout.
elephant on.
Yeah.
And I lie, I take it back. 'Cause I just remembered. My favourite beer from Portland, Maine, US. Yeah, it's got to be that.
Go on then, Si. What's yours, mate?
Oh man,
can't
it's
remember the name of
boring.
it.
I discovered this year that you
Shipyard. Shipyard.
you can get Guinness, the triple strength one. Oh, it's not triple strength. This is triple X on it.
The Citra IPA, black and green.
No. It's the unmucked around with bottles at St James's Park. That was probably my favourite beer of the year, but it's still whiskey for me this year, unfortunately. Still Talisker, still.
It had to be the whiskey, didn't it?
Yeah,
But that's whiskey there. But
Talisker
your beer
Sky is great.
This is specifically beer.
Oh, you're gonna hate me. Gower Power with him. To be honest with you, I have
Gower
to-
Gold, I
Gower
think I
Gold,
said.
Gower
Yeah,
Power.
great words in the night.
Any of those are just absolutely phenomenal. To be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, what's it for you?
Well,
Any
considering all-
lager in a wine glass.
of all the whiskey, of all the beers I've tried this year, the only one I've tried is Swansea Jack.
Swansea, oh Swansea.
Therefore, I have to go
Wow.
with
So you go with
Swansea
that?
Jack.
Yeah,
What
can
have
I
you-
just
what have you
reiterate
been
that?
drink- what have you been
There's
drinking
no
at uni?
competition, really.
What have you been drinking at uni? Snake bite and black, or what is it?
Port and wine.
Together?
Port and wine. Oh,
See, when you say that though, this goes
Fortified
back to
wine
what you were
is
saying
just
at the
grim,
beginning
isn't
of the.
College has a port, so
Yeah, but I was going to say this goes back to that thing that you were saying at the beginning. You just imagine that you have this sort of club, and they sort of you ring the doorbell and you sign in. And you go upstairs and say, "Oh, yes, we've got the port on. We don't have lager; it's a commoner's drink." Sort
We
of
have
thing. Is it-
port and blue cheese.
Yes, but and a cheese, but it can't be that bad, surely.
it probably is.
No,
I bet you it is. Ask her.
is it that
no,
bad?
it isn't that
Yes.
bad. It's fine.
Is it that bad? Just say yes or no.
I've never seen anyone say the word no while
Well, look,
nodding.
Where I was in university, right? That's exactly what it was
You
like.
were in Exeter, though.
Yeah, it
You're
was
a different
quite.
kettle of
No,
fish.
but I know.
Well,
But what I'm saying
All
is,
those years ago.
Good
what I'm-
university, though.
What I'm saying
Very
is,
good university.
even on that
Exeter.
basis, there was these like
Good past,
port,
yeah.
sherry, cheese things going on. So it must be
Exeter's
at
a
least
fucking.
that.
Sorry, Naz. Exeter's a lovely part of the world.
It is a lovely
If
part
I
of the
want
world.
to drink wine every night of the week, I can find an event hosted by the university. That will
I've
get
got
me drunk.
CKs around the corner. I can drink wine whenever I want.
Literally every night of the week.
That's a good setup.
I mean, it's a sort of come back full circle. Have we left anything out that we should have asked Nia about? So,
Well,
I mean,
probably
hang on a
lots,
second.
because we've just been banging on between
What-
ourselves, haven't we?
let-
But I think we need to highlight Nia's involvement now.
Yes,
within
exactly.
This.
Do,
Exactly. Let's
right.
And I think
wind
you
that
need
up
to
Go
to
take
do
that.
this
that.
up.
No, you do it.
Why don't I think about it? You go on. Go on. Go on.
All right, okay. That may have been a slight strategic error from my point of view, but Nia very, very, very kindly agreed to come on board with Frequency House.
Does she still want to do
well,
that?
let's-
Because after
No,
tonight,
tonight.
Let's
that's
just
not
check.
after tonight.
After tonight, I want to do it more.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look me in the eye and tell me that's the truth.
Pity is a great currency.
Well, look, I mean, let's not go through.
I want to pity edit.
Yes. Let's not go through the options that Nia would have in front of her.
Any other podcast in the world?
For other publishers, for instance, who would be far more reputable and far more successful. However, so Nia has kindly come on board with the editing side of Frequency House, and hopefully we will be getting. Now we're back together as a bit of a team. You know,
this
ups
year-
and downs aside, it's
this
been
year
it's
was-
been
it's been
pretty weird. Yeah.
shit, isn't
but,
it?
But we've
I
soldiered
can't
on.
apologise for
But
that,
we've
Naz,
soldiered on with the
'cause that's how bad
podcast.
it's been.
We've soldiered on with the podcast.
Can I point my hand up? Can
course
you
you can.
two deal with the creative design side of things? Can Nia then take care of the editing? And can I just take a backseat with the
No.
No, please. I
No.
just.
No,
I'm
not
better.
at all, mate.
I'm better. I'm not trying to be sort of self-effacing and woe is me. I'm much better when I'm. You know what I mean? I'm much better as the guy you go to and say, there's a problem with that. Oh yeah, no problem at all. Give me
that's
give
not
me
how it's
5
happening.
minutes to look at the catalogue. Yeah, I think you need a 36-inch
how it's
screw. No, I am.
How
I'm
would
far
that come
better.
into it, though?
I think that.
How would that work?
Assigned roles.
36-inch screw.
No, I'm just.
That's why you're not
Someone-
on that side of it.
No.
One of my
No.
favourite songs.
No, what
really
I
is.
mean is I'm
9 Inch
very
Nails, yeah.
no. I've said this
Run the
before
jewels.
on the podcast. I'm happier in the background. To be
That's
perfectly
not
honest with
happening.
you. No,
But anyway,
I'd rather be in the background.
but that
I
aside,
like editing podcasts and putting things together.
we like you editing the podcast.
Yeah, I do. I
But
do.
you also have a really great radio voice.
Yeah, he does actually.
Yeah, but not.
He's been told
not the
that.
intelligence.
You do.
Not the intelligence to match it, though, Nia. Come on.
Yeah.
No, don't.
No, it's all about temperament, isn't it? Temperament.
No, I've got a
is
temperament.
So Nia's on board then.
Nia's
Nia's on
yes.
board.
With,
And she raises her hands in there.
Obviously with...
I show my rage arm.
Yeah, who cares?
No, but this is good. So we've got an editor who's actually done
twice a day.
who's actually done
Monkey
editing
boy.
for other
But
a more esteemed.
Why do you want to
clubs
do
than
this?
ourselves.
Can I? In all honesty, why? What has he got on you?
Because other than his obvious natural charm.
He is very
Absolutely,
charming.
absolutely.
He's like a brother to
Yeah.
me, and so is Chris as well. But that goes without saying. Chris scares me. I've said that before.
Yeah, me too a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's
I'd
fine.
rather be
that in a
charming than
nice
scary,
way.
if I'm honest.
Not in a bad way, but like
Yeah.
But you know,
It's
you're protected
in a
as
very-
well.
Yeah, but depends. isn't it?
It's
Yeah,
in a very
situation.
calming way. It's like, oh,
he's frightening. I've seen
I'm
him go.
afraid.
It's scary, man.
Yeah. So the bottom
But
line
come out
is
with us and you know that you're safe, so don't worry about it.
you're keen to get on board. You're looking forward to it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
why?
Because I think that a lot of the issue with publishing and with editing currently is that it's so specified to the market that it's approaching, and I think that isn't even like a really real response.
Yeah, but you ta-
what I mean is that like
We're unspecified to the market.
But you're taking like a real chance, aren't you? I mean, it's not like we're like this massively established thing. I mean, it's like you know.
And you can't go moonlighting for other places now either. That's the other.
No.
you know,
Wait till you
you've
meet
got-
Darren.
or with all the other places
Oh,
I've
yeah,
been
that's true.
moonlighting for.
Yeah.
No, well, Nia's on board now. And we've
This
got
is great. Yeah.
an in-house artist.
You know,
who's ready
what-
I
to,
mean, realistically, like you guys are all taking chances too. I'm
We
just
are.
taking it in a more literary sense.
I could catch anything from these.
Would that
two
mean
at any
that
time.
you'd want? Would that mean that you'd want to like come on and do more of the sort of podcast thing as well? Because like that was something I was talking about with Iqbal, because that was kind of something.
Switch
that,
it up a little bit.
Yeah, you know,
Dip in and out.
yeah. Give me a break.
It just depends what you guys want, I guess. Like I don't, as I said to you when I was talking about it, I don't want to step on anyone's
No,
toes.
God, no,
It's
I
done
no,
right,
don't.
Joe.
and I-
no. I'm not just saying this. It does kind of feel like we have needed something maybe something else on top
Yeah.
of things. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, I think series 1 has worked quite well overall, hasn't it? We've sort of learned as we've been going along.
I said it at the beginning of the podcast when Chris asked me what was the highlight of my year. It is still the highlight for me. It's like I take a lot of solace in it, but that's
Yeah, no,
that's
I
why
do
I'm
as well.
overly protective
Yeah.
and storm out and get angry and throw
Well, it's-
strops about things.
But
because
that's how.
it's-
But that's
the
what
third highlight for
No,
me.
but dude, that's what creative people are about. So
I
it's
don't
not
want to
really-
be like that though.
Yeah, but a little bit of an
No, I
edge is
don't.
always
Not-
good.
no, not really, no.
Yeah,
But
but
that's why we
but
like
to
it.
be
Irritating.
fair,
That's why we like
you
it.
want people like after in like 70 years from now to be like, oh fuck, he used to storm out. of
Yeah,
the
yeah. That
room.
little.
He was
don't
chaos. He was like
sound
fucking
like-
Amy Lee in
Can I
Evanescence.
just say that off microphone, undoubtedly the worst potty mouth is me.
Yeah.
But when you all go on there, you are foul fucking mouthed.
Hello.
Sorry, Naz.
It's
Naz,
the fame.
Naz, I'm
It's
so
fame.
sorry.
Excuse
And
What?
Nia's only just joined in,
Naz,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
and they're dropping the f bombs.
My f bombs have been
Off
fairly
mic,
limited.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, you are potty mouthed.
The fame it gets to people.
Well, I am absolutely disgusted.
Yeah. That takes some doing. in
But
fairness.
as I was saying, like when
I love it.
Iqbal was first telling me about this, like literally months and months ago, I was literally just like, this sounds.
Well, did you listen to? Have you listened to any of the podcasts? And that's not like a test or
I
anything.
listened to the one with Felix. What's his real name?
Felix Subway.
Alfie Showman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felix Subway.
Alf.
Alfie.
It was a good podcast. That.
It was.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was good.
Very,
I've
very
listened
nice.
to it. It's the only one I haven't listened to yet. I haven't got around to listening
It's
to it.
worth having a listen.
I don't mean that in any bad way. Just really, I've not had the time to get down and listen to it.
He's got a hell of a personality. He's definitely worth a listen to.
Yeah,
But I
will.
think I think
Joe
what-
Bayliss one I want to do, and that's for next season.
Yeah, we're gonna have to try and get him in. We're gonna have to try and
Oh,
rope him in.
hi.
We'll have to try and get him in.
we got
Really?
people lined up
Oh.
for the next one. And I'm
We
looking
have
forward
actually.
to it.
There's a
We
couple of
have
people
already. Yeah.
We have hopefully Richard Jones, who's going to come on, who we've spoken to about before, who used to
He used to teach me English.
No, this is someone else.
This is someone else, the chap who runs and owns Laser Quest in town.
Oh my god,
What?
Laser
Who
Quest,
doesn't want
what?
him on?
How's he coming on?
Who doesn't want him on?
It's coming
So
to the
the
shop.
cool Richard Jones.
Yeah,
It-
proper cool Richard
is
Jones.
very cool guy. He's a surfer, musician,
And of course,
and
we're gonna
runs
have to
Laser
we're gonna
Quest.
have to
He's got some
sample Laser Quest now.
Really interesting stories. He's a
Can we
very cool
actually?
guy.
Yeah, we'll
Oh,
have to
yeah.
go down and sample Laser Quest
is it
before
Les,
the show.
who's your friend who works with you? Is it who's an actor?
Oh, Les, no, you
Yeah,
spoke to Les.
I want Les to come on.
Yeah,
He's
he
he's
works
a
for
lot of
Whitehead
fun.
Ross.
Oh,
Yeah, Les.
yeah,
He's
I know
lovely,
Les, man.
lovely
yeah,
guy.
Les
I'm
is
really
sound.
gonna come on.
But we've also got Professor John Goodby coming on, mate.
Who's he?
In January. He's a fairly renowned expert in Dylan Thomas.
And
And we
I
were trying to get him involved, but unfortunately, for
Is
one
he?
thing or another,
I've
been
just
able to.
twigged on something. I'm probably not the best to be on that podcast because I'll probably get really angry at the intellectual. I don't know.
So we've got a good few people lined up.
I'm going
by
to
the
get
sounds
my
of it.
boys and Only Fools and Corpses in.
Lovely.
They definitely want to do it. I'm going to get those.
That's great.
I want
That's
to
really
start
good.
series 2 with Jeff. No, sorry. End of discussion. Naz has to come on.
Yeah, we'll get him on.
I want Naz
We'll get him
on
on.
because I need to
Yeah.
speak to Naz. Naz is quality control.
Well,
He
you can
needs to
talk to
come
him on
on.
Christmas.
no,
No,
as
Boxing
in your
Day.
mother, Naz.
That's not my mum.
Bronwyn's his mum. Bronwyn's lovely. She's a lovely lady.
I know. I am.
Yeah, no,
Don't know
we're
why
gonna get
I
him
said
on.
it.
We're gonna get him
Yeah,
on.
I'm two different things. Then.
Yeah, he's coming on.
Are we?
He's coming on. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
get him on.
Yeah.
Served
Can
me
you
in,
two
in
please
the
behave?
Swansea.
Can you two please behave?
Hey, he served me
I'm
in Swansea
did.
Can I come
beer
on?
festival a
Of course
few
you can.
times.
Yeah. he
more
did.
than
He
welcome.
pulled a
and-
pint for me, which was nigh on possibly a millimetre under
No,
a
no,
pint.
no.
He goes,
That's
Millimetre
how you get
under a
back and
pint.
forth.
and he
That's
went,
the
that's
thing.
not a pint. Have it for free.
Yes.
It's a long.
Oh, did
Thank
he?
you, sir.
What?
Right,
What's
they're
that-
still
what's
they're
that?
still talking, but we're struggling.
No, I just thought because Nat wants to come on to the Naz podcast. but
Nia.
Nia, sorry. Oh.
Nia is definitely coming on to that. So she'll dip in and out. That's
Are you
how it's
happy
gonna
to
work.
do that? It's not going to be too much of a hassle
Literally,
for
when
you.
I'm here, I do nothing. I see my grandparents. And
That's
then
lovely,
they
though.
But
Where
she's
do your
got
grandparents live?
she's got
Go
tasks.
sign in.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's lovely.
Go sign
no
on.
part of the world.
Gotta sign in.
Go sign on.
What school did you go to?
Bont.
Bont.
Pontilice.
What did you know?
Did you know this one person that I
No,
knew once long ago?
Now come on now. Come on.
Ah,
You don't know Sean Mosley, do you?
No.
No, okay, never mind. That's the end of that.
Wow, that is so Swansea, isn't it? That's so Swansea right
Do
there.
you know this person?
You're from
Oh,
Wales.
They died.
Right then, right
You're
then.
from Wales. Do you
Hang
know
on,
David Jones?
Hang on. What's wrong with that?
Come on, right.
But it's
Listen.
always like followed by they died.
And they died, and then they died.
Although Sean Mosley is not a really popular name, so there's a possibility.
And on that bombshell of Sean Mosley, I think we should probably
Is it
wrap up. shouldn't
wrapping
we?
up the Christmas?
It is a wrapping up.
Yeah,
sort of
it's-
time.
there's a lot for me to
What's
edit.
your
I am
Japanese trip-hop
not.
albums,
I am not going to be able to get. To, I am not going to be able to finish this by January. I'm
No,
telling you, there's
obviously
so
not.
much to edit. But
Obviously not.
it's I'll try
So
my damn
sorry.
best.
Good luck with the
It's
chaos.
all right,
mate.
it's
Good
okay.
luck with the chaos.
It's mostly me.
I mean, the Christmas
No, it's
party.
me.
The
It's
Christmas
me.
party,
Trust me.
mate, has had everything, hasn't it?
What's
It's
your
had everything.
Canadian noise chorale? Yeah.
Canadian Noise Chorale. The Chuck brothers bringing it out big style.
Yeah.
Canadian
Big style.
Noise Chorale.
Yeah.
Noise core album. Oh,
Chucky B and Chucky D. They were absolutely
you need to
wonderful.
stop being racist.
Oh,
I think he does.
yeah.
I know.
Okay, I'll take that.
So, in the time-honoured fashion, it's been a blast. 2019, you've sucked, but the
I
positive.
would like to say sorry, man.
Go on.
That's not the listeners.
Thank you to people who have actually
Yeah,
tuned in
quite right.
and
Yeah.
wasted their
Yes.
time listening to us.
Yeah,
So,
that's it's 24 and counting subscribers, which is 24 people we can't let down. One of the most important people being Naz. Naz, I'm so sorry. I've apologized every time someone has sworn this evening.
potty mouth.
He is a
Um,
potty man.
I do sincerely apologize, Naz, but we will get you on as soon as possible. But yeah, also thank you for the support from everybody. I've been a bit overwhelmed, really. I know the views haven't been through the roof, but they've been more than I expected, to be perfectly honest, for a small fledgling label that decided to venture out and do a podcast. I'd also like to thank Chris and Iqbal, obviously, for all the support this year, because without them, I think I would have found it very difficult. And obviously to have Nia on board now is really nice as well. It's a real welcome addition to what we're doing. I think it's going to go forward really good. But I mean, I'm over the moon with it. That's in my opinion. So to wrap up,
Frequency House next year. New Minds album, New Minds split EP, the new book by Guion Iqbal Malik, edited by Nia
Oh,
and Simon will be involved as well at some point.
I'm just going to edit. I'm just going to record and mix and engineer stuff. Put my
And
artistic thing on the
hopefully
background
put out
burner.
something else by 2 other artists, if it all goes to plan.
So, in the time-honored tradition of the 2 Ronnies, we're going to have
We can't really afford
we can't really four Ronnies.
From the 4 dies,
4 dies. It's good night from me.
It's good night for me.
it's Booyaka Shack from me.
it's good night for me.
Good night.
Good night.